Gotcha.
The time for change is now.
If you care about me when I do this, or when I do this,
You should care about us when we do this.
I won't always be an athlete, but I will forever be a black woman.
you've had my back here.
Now, have my back here.
No one should feel unsafe due to the color of their skin.
All lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter.
Join us in the fight to end systemic racism.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter.
Black lives matter.
Black Lives Matter.
I'm so excited that you've taken time out to tune in to the Ella Johnson Show. I hope that you enjoy the broadcast. I hope you'll laugh. I hope you'll cry. But I hope that you'll be moved by what you hear. Well, my guests are very special to me, and so are you. So I want you to sit back, enjoy the show. What you can become depends on what you can overcome. Yes, I'm so excited about my children's book that's coming out, and I'm looking for some mahogany kids. I'll tell you about that later. And now it's time for the Ella Johnson Show. Hello, everyone out there, and welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. It's Thursday night. I hope you guys are having a wonderful week. I really, really do. I hope you're not allowing me to get to you. But we are very, very excited to be here tonight. You see that I have some wonderful guests joining me tonight. Some different folks, right? Y'all have never seen these guys. Listen, I love it. I love meeting people on Facebook who have a voice. Well, listen, tonight we're going to talk about some very, very important subjects because policing in America is basically at the forefront of a lot of conversations in social media, and for good reason, because we keep dying, so we need to figure out why this policing is not working. Now, there are a lot of people that will say it is working. You guys just need to get over it. Well, we're going to address a lot of that tonight. We're also going to talk about these new voting laws that are coming into Florida and Georgia. And from what I'm learning is that a lot of other states are starting to adopt these same methods. You guys need to wake up. We need to see what's going on so that it doesn't, catch up on us and then we don't know what's going on. But I just want to introduce my guests. I see Charlotte and James. And you know what they told me? That they're just regular folks that just love social justice. James is out of Sacramento, California, and Charlotte is out of Montgomery, Alabama. Welcome, guys, to the Ella Johnson Show.
Hey,
What's going on?
Well, listen, I want you guys to address my viewers and just say something about why you like social justice. And, I want you guys to loosen up. Let's have fun. We're going to have a good conversation because both of you are just all about it. So we're going to talk about it tonight because we're going to bring out a lot of stuff that a lot of people are not aware about. And guys, my co-host, Tish, she will join us shortly. So I just want to let you guys know she's coming also. So Charlotte, tell us, why are you so excited about social justice and why is it so important to you?
I started out with the Ahmaud Arbery last year is when I decided with my loud voice. I didn't like how that went down at all. And that was the last one for me that I thought that I could deal with. I actually stepped out and was trying to tell our community of people that, in order for us to get new justice, that the first thing we need to do is stop spending money with businesses that don't spend money with us. And so I was encouraging our people to try to go ahead and just support other Black businesses and make sure that we're holding on to our money. That was what I originally started out with. Now I'm more into the area of just talking with our own people. I think that we need to address our own people now and try to see where we're headed for the future. Like, when are we going to decide to come together and put something together that'll be beneficial for us instead of waiting on somebody to do that for us. So that's kind of where I'm at now with my voice. I'm talking directly to our community. I want to address them. I want to see, what are we going to do? When is we all as a nation going to come together and put something together that'll be beneficial for us?
And I want to tell you guys also, Charlotte is involved in a few movements that I think they're very incredible. She did a movement called New Justice, New Shopping. Ooh. And we're going to get into that because I'm going to read a quote directly from Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King is coming to the Ella Johnson Show tonight. Now, he's not going to show up here for real. I'm not that deep. But we are going to bring his voice into this. How can we not? But she is also doing a Unity Day. And we're going to talk about that a little later, Charlotte, because I know people that are in Alabama, Montgomery, up in that way, they need to know about that event so that they can participate. But I think that's really good. Now, James, you and I met. We were both on a thread the other day on somebody else's post. And we were both like, I said, I like him. And we just this is where we met again. So What is it about social justice that gets you going, that makes you, why is it so important to you?
It's an interesting story. A lot of people don't know. My mom is from West Oakland. So she grew up in the era of the Panthers. And so I grew up in West Oakland before I moved to Sacramento in high school. So my dad and his whole side of the family was in Chicago, and they was actually cops. So I'm the son of a cop and of someone who was on the other side as far as like Black Panther and, revolutionary type, And so social justice or just justice period was just I guess it was just inside of me. But when I was younger, I made bad decisions like a lot of people do, running the streets and whatnot. I was when my eyes open, as far as I can see, I was about 7 years old and I got stopped and frisked, I guess we call it now. I got stopped and frisked and at a gas station going to pay for my mom's gas. And back in those days, kids used to like solicit to pump gas for change and stuff like that. The self-service era was coming in. And so kids was actually, trying to pump gas to earn a few little dollars. I wasn't. I was just going to pay for my mom's gas. And so on the way back, we unfortunately got separated by a diesel. The police pull in, they see me, they grab me, they throw me on the hood. Now you got to remember, I'm a 7-year-old child at this time. You know what I mean? I don't even want to say kid.
7 or 17?
7.
7.
I'm 7. I'm in the 2nd grade. We had just really moved to West Oakland. So it's like my introduction into West Oakland. So
Wow.
I'm getting put on the hood. He's bending my arm back real hard. He's telling me I shouldn't be over here, soliciting to pump gas. And I'm like, hey, I'm just paying for my mom's gas. So finally, I just screamed out my mom's name and then said, Mom, Mom. And she came running around the thing and, basically cussed him out, asked him what he doing, hemming me up. And he apologized snarkily, real sarcastically. And, they got in the car and drove off like nothing happened. But I was like,
devastated.
Yeah, I was really traumatized.
Wow.
From that moment on, I looked at the police as like enemies to us. You know what I mean? Because you hear stories, you learn about the Black Panthers and what they did. So, but until you actually go through it, it's like, wow, like, you know what I mean? Like you said. And so since I was young, I had a disdain for them because it seemed like they had a disdain for me. You know what I mean?
I'm glad that you shared that experience with us, because just imagine how many kids have gone through that, and they're even at 7, 17, 20, whatever age you are, and they have to hold on to that, and they're just like you have a disdain for police now because of that incident, still after all these years.
And I remember it vividly.
What do you think about that, Charlotte, when you hear that?
I mean, I could see it happening. That sounds realistic. I mean, anytime you have an encounter with, racial injustice, that's something that you'll never forget. I actually had an incident at the last job that I had up in Clanton, Alabama. My first day on the job, they let me know that wasn't the place for me. And so, I had to understand the hard way, because I grew up in Monroeville, Alabama, and I went to Excel High School. And so I don't feel like I grew up, and that school was predominantly white. So I don't feel like I grew up with dealing with racism or whatever until I became an adult. That job in Clinton changed my whole outlook towards people, white people, because I never had a problem with white people at all. Like, I grew up with them. I still have white friends now from my high school, but those people in Clinton, they hate Black people. And I never realized, what hate meant until I experienced somebody hating me just for the color of my skin.
Now, when you say they hated you, what proof did you have of that?
Just, from like physical, you could just see when you walking up, like their face get red. They don't know if they want to speak to you or not. Everybody's whispering like something's wrong with you. They don't want to work with you. They don't want to be anywhere close to you. They hate people that has a voice. They hate people that speak up and, confident people.
Right.
They hate Black people that are confident. And that was the only issue that I could pinpoint would be the reason why they would have an issue with me, because I know how to speak to all people. Like I said, I have all kind of friends of all different races. So it had to be my confidence and my voice that made them afraid. And, It was like, and it was like these older white men. It's like they were actually like torture, like, almost trying to torture me to just run me away from a job. So I would just imagine, like, what if they were officers? What if they were like officers or something like that? And I just didn't realize like how intense the hate is until I actually had that encounter. I had to end up, having to sue them for discrimination. It was easy for me to win, but
oh wow, good for you. Mm-hmm. Good for you. That's what the Civil Rights Act is all about. And I don't know why people tend to get an attitude with people when they want to fight for their rights. I mean, all of the people that died so that we can have this Civil Rights Act, why not use it when you have the opportunity? In that case, it was definitely warranted for you to use it. All right, guys, listen. Like I said at the start of the broadcast, I said that, policing in America is on everybody's minds. And it should be, because we have African Americans unarmed who are killed over and over. Let's talk about some of them, guys. Because we do have a reason for this, because I want to address some of the issues that people say, well, Ella, why? Well, guess what? Tonight is your night to get those questions answered. We're going to talk about a lot of that, because we also want to bring up both sides. We want to talk about, okay, this is great. We're upset. This is how we feel. But I want to also bring into the picture, guys, what the opposition says about what we're doing. So we're going to address that just in case they're watching, so they don't have to ask anybody else. They'll get their answer right here on the Ella Johnson Show, right, James?
Yeah, definitely.
No need in asking anymore, right? But let's talk about some, because Rayshard Brooks, this is the young man that was killed in Atlanta. Do you remember him? You guys remember? The cop, Gary Rolfe, shot him because he was running, and then they said that he turned around and tased. Well, the new information about that is that officer, the judge set a bond. I think that was today that happened. $500,000. And she, of course, labeled a lot of stipulations. But let's talk about that. There was a lot of outrage. You guys remember all the protests. All of them are followed by protests. That's a given, But then you had the Wendy's burned down, and you have all the property damage and all of that. Talk to me, real talk, about how you guys feel when you turn on the television and you're like, okay, I know Rayshard died and we should be angry, but then you see people burning down buildings and stuff like that. How do you feel when you see that?
Want to go first, Charlotte?
No, you start.
See, he was trying to do ladies first. I caught that, Ray. I caught that, James.
For me, it's I look at it as reverse psychology. You can't murder one of us and then say there's never no need for violence. You know what I mean? You already committed violence, and then you do a false equivalent when you start equating buildings and property with people. Now you're starting to get close to equating us with property. You see what I'm saying? So when you do
like
violence
we were before
us,
in slavery,
yes, it's going back in the full circle. Well, it never really left. The Dred Scott case never was repealed or revisited or anything. So basically, on the Supreme Court, it's basically the black man have no rights that the white man is bound to respect. So it's deep when you think of it that way, because I think it's just a psyop. They're going to murder us, and then when we react, say there's never no need for violence, but you murdered us. And on top of that, if anything happened to any one of them, they will murder a whole country if they have to.
True.
They never say anything about there's never no need for violence. After 9/11, nobody said there's never no need for violence. You know what I mean? So,
but here's one of those responses that we get. Why can't you guys be like Martin Luther King? He was a man of peace. What's your response to that, Charlotte, whenever we hear that?
Well, first of
he
all,
was a man of peace, but y'all killed him too. Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, we're not Martin Luther King. We're not back in the time that Martin Luther King was doing with, the way he used his way to make an approach. We're not there. So I hate when people bring up Martin Luther King and try to relate Martin Luther King's approach to injustice to how we're going to go about it today. Really, I would like for people to quit bringing up how Martin Luther King did things, because we're not in that same time frame. And what Martin Luther King was fighting for and what we're fighting for now is two different things. Well, it's still the same thing, but we're not in the same time. So, about the burning down of the buildings and the protesting and things like that, I look at it like, we're not getting nowhere with the protesting. Okay. And then we really don't know if every building that was burnt down was by somebody black.
Right.
They'll paint the picture. They'll paint the picture and say, well, we're out there protesting, but it's supposed to be peaceful, but we got all this looting and stuff. Okay, well, where's the people that done it? We look at it back when the George Floyd situation jumped off, when they were, locking up a lot of people. A lot of those people that were burning up those buildings weren't even black. So, they'll paint that picture on us and say that we're the ones that stopped burning the buildings. And, I don't fall for that, because I just feel like they'll pin anything bad on us. And so I'm not going to sit here and say that we should take credit for every building that was burnt down or any of them, unless they have some actual facts. Other than that, then it wasn't us. And so, okay.
Well, I want to add to that. And I just want to give everybody up there watching something to think about. When George Floyd happened, we reacted, we responded. Well, guess what? So did the Republicans. And you know how they responded? That's why you have all these voting laws now. That's why you have all these anti-riot laws now, anti-protests. They responded. They don't want you to do anything, but they're going to do their little stuff. But you know where they do theirs? They do it with the law. That's how they get back. So what's the difference? We responded. You responded. They burned down business. I don't condone the burning down of buildings. I agree with you, Charlotte. I don't think that helps. I personally don't think the protests help either. I agree with you on that as well. I just tend to fall back on a lot of the stuff that Martin Luther King, a lot of his thought processes. That's why I want to bring this thing up that he did. You guys remember in his last speech, I've been to the mountaintop speech. There's something very profound, and it links directly to what you're doing, Charlotte. That's why I wanted to bring that up tonight, because I like what you're doing, and I just want to show you how you just you're piggybacking off Martin Luther King. Now, when I talk about Martin Luther King, I have to bring him up on the screen. That's my boy. I love it. Okay? But I want to read this from his speech. I've been to the mountaintop, and I want you guys to really listen to this. He said, we don't have to argue with anybody. We don't have to curse and go around acting bad with our words. We don't need any bricks and bottles. We don't need any Molotov cocktails. We just need to go around to these stores and to these massive industries in our country and say, God sent us by here to say to you that you're not treating his children right. And we've come by here to ask you to make the first item your agenda, fair treatment, where God's children are concerned. Now, if you are not prepared to do that, we do have an agenda that we must follow. And our agenda calls for withdrawing economic support from you.
I agree with that wholly.
100%.
I don't condemn the burning down the buildings or nothing. You know what I mean? I'm kind of indifferent to it. And I also feel like Martin Luther King, when he said that riots is the language of the unheard. You know, I'm getting to the point where I don't even want to call it a riot no more. I'm gonna just call it an uprising. You know,
I like that, uprising.
Yeah,
I think they all work to get their attention, but nothing works like withdrawing economic support. I really do believe that, because we support their businesses and we don't demand anything, and we should change that. We need to start demanding, like Martin Luther King, no, you're going to treat me fairly or I'll withdraw my support from you. Because think about it, guys. When you think about the Montgomery bus boycott, didn't it work?
Mm-hmm.
Why did it work, James?
Because, they love their money. You know what I mean?
More than anything.
Yeah, they love their money. So
now they get offended when we talk about it. I want to bring up something else too, guys. This Asian thing.
Oh.
I was just Charlotte, tell us how you really feel. She had that look like, oh Lord. They have an anti-hate bill, right? Is that what it's called, James?
Yeah. The anti-hate, what is it? Asian American Pacific Islander anti-hate bill or something like that.
Do we have one?
Not at all. And it's crazy to me how they didn't need a committee, or they didn't need a review, or they didn't need, you know what I'm saying, all this stall tactics like they use with us, like HR 40 and everything else. They just went straight to the pen and pad and made it happen. And the craziest thing is not no opposition to it. I don't hear no all stop all hate. It's a total different response than when we try to do something. And that should be eye-opening to us.
And I read some things about why that is. Why is it that they got a bill and we didn't? And I think it's because, and I was watching is it Dr. Umar?
Yeah, I heard.
I think Umar, because you have it on your page, James. I had seen that interview though. But he brought up an interesting point when he said that the reason they cater to the Asians is because, white people are dying off.
Disappearing.
And they need somebody else to run allies with, to make sure and secure their positions.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we're going to do this for y'all, but you better come out for us. That kind of thing.
They actually caught some, I didn't mean to interrupt you. They actually caught some police on camera saying something of the sorts, where one of the officers said he told his son it was okay if you find you an Asian girl. And they was talking about their numbers dying off, and it's a real fear they have, and fear is a ugly motivator. It can motivate people to do some some bad things and be scared of something that's not there, you know.
Exactly.
And these
Now
people.
let's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
And these people have always feared us for one reason or another. And the main thing is for retribution. They know what they would do if somebody did to them what they did to us for so many centuries.
Preach.
Imagine when the white girl in San Francisco got shot, and one girl gets killed by an immigrant guy, and they made the Case Steinley law. Every time we get murdered, they called it an isolated incident. And my question to them is, how many before it's not an isolated incident? But
Wow.
it's kind of hard to reason with the unreasonable. So I try not to get too bogged down with them and just focus on us. But I will use them as teaching tools. And, you know.
Very good point. Very good point. And I think that that's a lot of why Charlotte does what she does, is because she's learning from that and saying, okay, let's take a different approach. And I think all of them are necessary. But we have to start doing the stuff that we know is going to work. I think if we're going to protest, couple it with not spending, now we're on to something. Now we're on to something.
I don't understand.
Let's talk. Yeah. Let's talk about George Floyd, and then we're going to go to Andrew Brown because he's current. He's the new one on docket. I mean, like, we really have a docket of dying unarmed Black men, and it's no. So let's talk about George Floyd, because his killer was found guilty. And like we were talking about before we went live, we were talking about how now they're going after that juror to try to discredit the verdict.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Charlotte?
Well, if it wasn't going to be that, I figured they were going to find another way to either, you know, within a year or so, they were going to find a way to let him out. You know, I didn't really, I'm glad that they convicted him, but for some reason, I just had a feeling that something was going to come up to where they were going to try to find a way to release him, because he's actually like the first one that we've convicted in a very long time. You know, like, have we ever, when you think about it,
James, who was the other one?
Have we ever? Yeah, have we ever? So, it was just so hard to believe that he's actually going to go to jail for all this time. And boom, not even a month later, he's already back trying to find a way to let him out. And, at the end of the day, we got to come up with something else. I feel they're going to try hard to let him out. And, that's why I was trying so hard to push that new justice. In order for us to get new justice, we're not going to get the justice that we're looking for until we stop spending money with them. We don't have stores. So we're spending all our money in the stores because we don't have stores. So us as a people, we know how to live with the basics. Like, we have never really had much. So we know how to live with just basic necessities. So I was trying to tell everybody to just only buy basic necessities and hold the rest of your money. Just hold it. But our people just want to go in the store and just spend it. I don't know, because they don't know what else to do with it or whatever, but we got to come up with a way to stay out of their stores. Because I promise you, we take that money back, they're going to go sit down somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
That's
the only thing that's going to make them sit down somewhere, that money.
They actually convicted that police in South Carolina that shot the guy in the back. I think Walter Scott was his name, when he tried to plant the taser next to him. And, and it was a guy across a distance away from him, filming him from across a fence.
Yeah. They saw it. Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
So he was convicted, so that's good.
This is the thing. That was years ago, and he just now lost his appeal. He just now lost it. So that's why I reserve my celebration on George Floyd case, because it's years of before they actually get convicted and have to do their time. You know?
When they read the verdict, I was over here like, that's good, but let's see. It wasn't I was trying to be negative. I'm like, I had a bad feeling too, Charlotte. I just because I'm glad, but then right after that, we're in Andrew Brown. But let's talk about George and the verdict, and now they're after the juror. What did we learn as a people from George Floyd's case? and the trial. What did we learn that is going to help us in the next one? What do you think, James?
This is going to be, I mean, I know you guys said it didn't help really, but I think that when George Floyd was caught on camera, it set the world on fire, literally. You know, hitting their pockets, you know, really do work. And it's more than one way to hit their pocket. And I think that if you hit insurance companies, that's when change really happened. When insurance companies have to start paying out too much, they start making stuff happen. You know, as far back as slavery, when the white women was killing too many kids and they had to have insurance on the kids. And so they start making laws to where the white woman can just kill the kids like they was before. Mm-hmm. So insurance companies have a lot of power. You know, I heard Dick Gregory say one time, rest in peace, that if you want to stop police violence, switch the way you pay out police misconduct from the city and taxpayers to a private insurance company and make them have to get insured. And if they do so much, if they get caught doing so many misconduct, so many payouts, they lose their insurance. Once they lose their insurance, they lose their license. They can't be a cop anymore. He said something like, do you hate me more than you hate feeding your family? And that's a question that I think we all know that they'll say, no, they don't hate us more than feeding their family.
Wow, that's a good point. What do you think, Charlotte? What do you think we learned, if anything, about George Floyd? I mean, because that was a remarkable thing, and I loved how we came together. They protested. Remember, they did it like every day for like a month, wasn't it?
They did. They did great.
That was awesome. Because, I mean, when you think about the Montgomery bus boycott, I mean, they did it for 391 days. Yeah. But who's counting? But that, you know what I'm saying? That was powerful because but this is the way they were able to do it, Charlotte, is because they were able to pool their resources together. That's key. Okay, we don't need to ride the bus, but people do need to get to work. So how are we going to make this happen? Okay, well, you take this one. You're going to that side of town. They work together. Yeah. Do you see us being able to do something like that?
I mean, I think that if we, try to start, it's going to be hard to just picture it and say, yeah, I can see us doing it. But, I think that we need to start somewhere. And just, we need to start and just push that and just believe in it, because the only thing that's going to conquer fear is hope. So, we got to just put something in place and stick with it. And that way, we can try to get ourselves out of the situation that we're in. Right now, we don't have many ideas that we can really come up with to try to get ourselves out of this situation. We're either going to stop spending money, or we're either going to try to, these are my options. Okay. I've already stopped spending money. Okay. So my next option is, you know what? I don't want reparations. I don't care about no reparations. I just want to get out from over here. Okay. Yeah, we built the country, but they stole it from us.
Where do you want to go?
Yeah, it's global. It's global. You can't get away from them. They're everywhere.
I don't know. I'll sit on a piece of just island, and just sit back there. I don't know right now.
They're gonna come to your island and mess with you.
We got to change of what we want. We just need to start trying to put more in place. I don't know what we should do.
I say we do, like you said, we save our money, but then we don't just save it, we invest it, and I think we should start coming together like our grandparents did. Well, my grandparents moved from Louisiana to California, and they called it like a great migration or something, because it was a lot of Black people moved from the South to the West. And I think we need another great migration with the intent on building like another Black Wall Street, but first and foremost, building a way to protect it in every sense of the word. You know what I mean? Like, we have to protect whatever we build, because history showed us that they're going to try to destroy it. Speaking of the anti-Asian hate, you never seen Chinatown get burned down. You never seen what happened with Tulsa happen to a Chinatown, and you got them coast to coast. So we have to be very, very, aware of that. And I agree with Charlotte. Like, we have to stop spending with these people, save our money, invest our money, and we have to start coming together, even if it's in small enclaves.
And start creating more businesses. And then once we unify, once we unify a little better, then that'll cut back on some of the issues that we're dealing with. We're the only nation that's not unified. Like, we're not together at all. It's a few of us out here that's together, but the majority of us, we're not together. We're the only race that's not together. So we're not going to get that respect that we expect to have because, inside our own race, we're not together. Like, we don't have businesses. We haven't done our part as a nation in order for us to get that respect that we want from them. I think that once we start unifying more, and I also want to bring this up too about the protesting. It bothers me how every time a white officer kills one of our black unarmed people, that everybody goes out in the street and protest and loot and get mad, but then when we have black on black murder, nobody goes to the street and fight for that. So, we got to start with those little small things to show that we're trying to unify with each other. We can't just jump up every time it's a black on white incident. We got to jump up too when it's a black on black. We need to be running out to the street as well, trying to get justice for these black on black murders too. And I think that once the world starts seeing us do that, then that's a form of unifying to them, and they'll get
that's
afraid.
That's what they do not want.
They don't want us to unify on anything. I can see the opposition that I'm facing now with the movement that I'm pushing in Montgomery, Alabama. I'm on the pushing 30 days of no black on black murder. We're on day 18. Now, we've had some murders. We woke up this morning, it was 2 people that was found dead with gunshot wounds. Now, the community is the ones that came together and challenged their own community to help reach the 30 days. Now, we already had a discussion about all the what ifs, okay? Because we know for a fact that they're not gonna let us go 30 days without a black on black murder, without giving us some kind of opposition. So, even though we woke up this morning to 2 people being dead, at the end of the day, nobody was arrested. But that's a way to stop that 30-day celebration by us waking up to 2 people being dead. But at the end of the day, nobody was arrested. So we can't actually call that black on black murder. But I also feel like that, when we're trying to come together, we're going to suffer. Somebody's going to suffer when we're trying to come together. And I look at it, like I said, we talked about it in the community. We already talked about within these 30 days, they're going to be digging up bodies. They're going to be finding bodies. They're going to act like they done found so many murders and dead bodies within these 30 days so they can stop these 30-day celebration that we have. Not only are we trying to have one 30-day celebration, we trying to go every 30 days without a murder. We're going to celebrate. And the community is doing a great job with it. Now, just because we woke up and saw a murder, if y'all ain't locked nobody up, then how we know they didn't do it? So when you try, I want to encourage our people that don't be afraid to try to unify, because we're going to get opposition. They don't want us to come together, period. Not even for 30 days. They'll pull all kind of stunts to stop us from coming together. And so we're still pushing on with our 30 days because at the end of the day, nobody was arrested. So we're not trusting any of that because we know for a fact that they don't want us to come together, because I'm in the place of the birthplace of the civil rights movement. Yeah. My whole deal was that by us stopping the black on black murder, that would bring value back to the city. They don't want that. They don't care about that'll bring people back to the city. No, nobody wants to move to Montgomery right now because of the black on black violence. That's all the violence. The 18 days that we went without a black on black murder, we haven't had any violence as well. So, but the whole idea was we have a water park that they're going to be building coming in the next year. So I was thinking well, that'll bring some value back to the city. That'll make people want to move back to Montgomery, and that'll actually bring more money back into the city. Yeah, it will. And they know that for a fact, and they've agreed with me about that, and they don't care. They don't want us to make them 30 days that we unify. They're not going to sit there and let us celebrate the fact that we went 30 days without killing each other.
Even though, Charlotte, that is what they've been complaining about. That's one of the issues that comes up in this from the other perspective is that, well, you guys are so busy out here worrying about when white cops kill you, but you don't worry about when black cops kill you. I mean, like you're saying, yeah, we need to do that, but we also need to talk about this. You don't get to change the narrative just because it doesn't fit what you want to hear. We still have to address when police kill black or white unarmed people. Period. We still have to address that.
Can I push back a little bit on Charlotte? A little bit, just with the. I hate to like play semantics, but it's a propaganda word they use. A phrase I should say, black on black violence. Asians kill Asians, Mexicans kill Mexicans, the cartels, Colombians, El Salvadorians kill El Salvadorians. It's proximity crime. You're going to murder who you next to and who you live with and who you surrounded by, especially if you hoard it like rats and like projects and whatnot. You know what I mean? But I definitely agree that we got to stop the murder. I'm in a city where it's a lot of gang violence. You know what I mean? I'm in California. I grew up with a lot of gang violence. And it's almost, I mean, it stopped a couple times. You know what I mean? Like during the Rodney King, it was a gang truce. You know, it was a similar gang truce, I think, after Trayvon Martin or Tamir Rice. But these I'll call them tribal wars because during the 80s and the 90s, when the crack era hit and a lot of our parents was on drugs, the kids had to come together and like basically reform their own tribes and families. So what you call a gang today basically was a kid's family at one point because his own family was too busy getting high somewhere. So now you got something that's generational because it's generations out here. I know it's at least three generations, you know, but as far as the black on black crime and comparing it to the police murders, it's a lot of people that do good work on the streets, like especially in Chicago, you know, like Father Flanagan and other groups, but they will never get publicity. CNN will never go out there and say, oh, look at this group, you know, protesting this gang violence and this, that, and the other, you know, so it's going to be up to us to build our own businesses. I'm with you. Financial freedom is the only way. Finances is the only way we're going to get freedom up out of here. Once you get your finances and your economics in order, whichever way you got to get it, then you'll be able to have a little leverage. Asians don't vote. They don't vote. They don't come out like black people doing numbers. Yet they got an anti-hate bill without no committee, no reforms, no nothing. You know what I mean? So we have to relook and rethink everything we was taught about this as far as politically speaking and the police violence and everything. You know, at this point, it's like we almost getting taxation without representation right now. Me being the homeowner and you're telling me that I'm paying for my oppression. I'm paying for this police to racial profile me. That just don't sit well with me. But back to what Charlotte was saying, I agree wholeheartely with we have to come together, but until we find another avenue of getting money, which comes back to finances for these young guys, it's going to be hard to get them to think about anything other than what they're doing because they basically wake up every day thinking, how am I going to get $1? And I'm willing to go to this block and get it, even though I know it's a chance that it's going to be some rival guys that don't like me, that want to murder me, come and catch me on this block. And that's the main issue we have is I call it crimes of poverty. We have a lot of crimes of poverty. We have a lot of emotional crimes where people kill each other out of ego and jealousy, and you know they get their feelings hurt and they want to shoot. They lose a fight and they want to kill each other. And it's going to be a massive haul to get these kids. You know, they're not thinking about tomorrow. I worked at Job Corps before and found out in adolescent development that their brain don't mature until they're 25. So now we got a kid that's at 11 and 12 making a decision to either get in a gang or start selling drugs, who's not going to be fully developed for a decade at least. And he's going to make so many bad choices in that decade without no support system there. And when I say support system, I mean financial support system, without another way that he can make money that's how can I say it? That's kind of equal to how he can make money on the streets. You know, we're trying to tell him, hey, go get a job at McDonald's. And he's saying, McDonald's, I can make that money in a couple sales. Like, get out of here. I don't care what comes behind it. I'd rather go to jail and be broke than be on the
So
streets.
then at what point, James and Charlotte, do we look to our community leaders, look to the homes? I mean, it all starts in the home, but obviously if they're acting that way, behaving that way, they're not getting it in the homes. But we have to hold our leaders accountable. That's why they're leaders. So at what point do we say, okay, leaders, do you see what's going on? Because if you know that, they have to know that also. So at what point do we get involved?
I consider Charlotte a leader more than I consider anyone that the so-called media or whoever called us or, pushed as a leader on us. You know what I mean? What Charlotte is doing down there is grassroots, and that's leadership. You know what I mean? We have to get behind people like Charlotte that got pure intentions and doing it out of love for our people than other people that's doing it out of love for money. You got people doing sponsorships with corporations now. And corporations never had our best interests at heart. So-called leaders like Tamika Mallory and all these other people. You know what I mean?
I know Tamika. She knows Tamika too. That's her family.
Yeah, that's her first cousin.
That's her first cousin.
But it's
I love her. She's doing incredible. Yeah.
I just have to say it. It just don't look good. Speaking of Martin Luther King, he said we need leaders who love justice more than money. And I usually don't knock how somebody get their money. Like I'm from the streets, so that's like a no. I can't knock your hustle. You know what I mean? But I don't know. It just don't sit right. Same with Cap and Nike. You know what I mean? How Cap did the Nike little get down and then they just disappeared into the wind. You know what I mean? I don't know.
That's how they silence us.
That's what I'm hoping don't happen. I'm hoping they don't get in your pocket deep enough to where they can say, we suggest this, or research and market suggest that, or the suggestions. I'm sorry.
Say who controls the money controls the game.
Yeah,
and it shouldn't be like that, right? Let's talk about Tim Scott. The other night, did you guys?
Who's Tim Scott?
That guy.
I know it takes a minute. Just breathe. It hurts your chest to think about it. Because we have a lot of Tim Scotts, people who, do we care that he's black saying this? Or are we just saying that what he's saying is ignorant no matter what race he is?
Well, I heard Kamala Harris and Joe Biden say the same thing. So to me, they are, who was it? I think it was W.E.B. Du Bois who said he wasn't voting in one election. And I'm paraphrasing, he said he came to the conclusion that it's not lesser of two evils, but it's but one evil, and they go by two names, Democrat and Republican. And for them to say that America is not racist, you know what I mean? Both parties to say it. You have Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, who's holding the highest office in the land. Then you got one of the only black senators saying it. It's like two wings on the same eagle.
Because people don't realize that when this country was put together, we were not even considered people. We were property. So it started with racism, not freedom. So it's
what are we voting for?
We have to know our history enough to know before you before you say something, know your history. Okay? We were at one point 3/5 of a person. If I don't know anything, it doesn't even sound right coming out of my mouth, because that is what we were considered, James and Charlotte. Yeah. And now I'm supposed to just be like, there's no racism? Of course, it was started with it. That's how it began.
I got kids I worry about every day going through situations I went through with the police who might can't handle it like I did, because I was actually unfortunate enough to deal with the police starting at a young age. Right. So I started getting stop and frisk at a young age, and through experience learned how to deal with them. But my kids don't. My daughter's finna graduate with a master's in sociology from Sac State on the 21st. So it's needless to say, she hasn't had too many experiences with the police, and I have sons that's 21 and 13. My 13-year-old's about tall as me. Worry about them coming in contact, so man, it's and for them to say it's not no racism, it's like it's just unbelievable. But they're pandering to a certain group, because I think they feel the tea leaves that black people waking up, that they haven't did anything for us, and since they've been in office, and there's no excuses.
Andrew Brown. Let's talk about Andrew Brown. That is the newest one. He was shot in the arm and he was shot in the head. The shot to the head is what killed him. He was running away from the police. There was I think it was an arrest warrant as well as a drug search that they went to the house for. Within even seconds of them showing up, they start shooting. Now there's some reports that say his hands were on the wheel when he was killed. So he was no threat if he's running away. Now, they say that you are presumed innocent until you are found guilty. But it seems to me that when these killings come up, Charlotte and James, you are saying he's guilty. Because if you're just serving an arrest warrant, you don't know if he's guilty of these charges. So why would you kill an innocent man? If you say he's presumed innocent until proven guilty, he's innocent at this point. So who just goes around shooting innocent people? That's what you guys wanted us to believe. And I'm talking to the people watching now. That's what you wanted us to believe and want us to judge Chauvin by. He is not guilty yet. He's presumed innocent. Well, why can't you do that to these unarmed black men? Let them have some innocence until you prove them guilty. That is what the system is all about. Now, my thing is when people say, well, Ella, why aren't you guys out there on the streets? I like what you're doing, Charlotte, but I also have to say this. Those people, when they get killed, they go through the system the way it's supposed to. Just like you said, there's white on white, black on white, black on black, Asian and Asians, and all these kind of people. And you take them through the system. That's how it's supposed to work. The reason they're protesting is because the system didn't work for them. So are we supposed to not say anything just because you don't like it? No. What else could we do if we weren't protesting, James? What else could we do?
It's no proper way to protest to these people. That's why I said I don't try to reason with the unreasonable. You take
Stop going to the stove.
Yeah.
every time we have a murder, we stop going to the stove. That should be a golden rule. We don't need nobody come on TV to tell us that. We don't need nobody be on. Every time they'll stop putting those murders on TV, because every time we see that somebody got killed, we automatically stop going to the store until somebody go to jail.
I like that idea.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah. We just stop going to the store. Oh, so y'all, okay, well, we ain't going to the store then. That's fine.
Yeah.
And then put it on shows like this. Because, like you said, CNN is not going to put that out there.
No.
They're like, that kind of messes up our plan, guys. We can't put that on there. So we have to be our own media to put it out there. Like, actually bring a camera while people walk by stores and say, we're not shopping here, we're not shopping there, we're not doing this. And that word will get to white America, and these corporations, they're going to be like, oh, Lord, they got a new movement. They're not protesting anymore. You change the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they're going to be like, okay, well, can we talk? Oh, now you want to talk. And that's what happened with Rosa Parks, in that movement, the bus boycott movement.
Mm-hmm. It sounds so simple. Why can't we come together and just save our money and stop spending? Like, are we that much into consumerism that we have to spend? I just don't understand.
What kind of responses are you getting, Charlotte, from people? When you say this, what are they telling you?
A lot of people love it. But then, we got to understand that everybody is not going to get on board, no matter how hard we try. And, those one are just going to get left behind until they're able to catch up. We can't keep not putting things in place because we got a majority of people that's probably not going to catch on board. Eventually they will, or they're going to be left behind. It just is what it is. We got to start somewhere. And, I got a great response from it. Like, it was several people that was doing it. And they still do it to this day. And I actually had a format for it. I was like, y'all save y'all money, and then at the end of this coronavirus thing, you should be able to open businesses. I've seen people open businesses in the time that I told them to stop spending money. I was able to do it myself when I stopped spending money. And then we didn't know that they were going to start sending us stimulus money and unemployment money and all that stuff. So that made it even better. And I was putting that extra to the side because we need to start opening businesses. So, even with the going out in the community is challenging their own community. You got people right in the community that's our own people that don't believe in our own people. And, you know, they don't get on board. And it's like those people, we're going to have to just leave them behind because they're not on our team.
They'll catch up
Like,
later.
just because every time you see somebody black, you can't automatically assume that we're all on the same page and we're all on the same team and we're trying to reach the same goals. Because I'm telling you, when you're out here on the street dealing with the community and you're not looking for anything in return, but trying to bring people together, you'll get a different approach, and you'll see people for who they really are. I mean, we have a lot of people, Black business owners, Black people out in the street, Black prominent people, leaders. They are not trying to help our people, period. They don't believe in our people. They're not going to come together with what we're trying to do, you know, and they're just not going to do it because they don't believe that we'll make it out of the situation that they're in. So they'll make a choice between if we're going to get us there or if what's been working for them going to get them there. And so at the end of the day, we have to separate ourselves from some of our own people, you know, because if not, then we're going to be stuck with people that's simple-minded, that, you know what I'm saying, not trying to come up with solutions and answers and, you know, bold. We need bold people. If
Absolutely.
you're not working, right. If, you know, it's so sad, you know, the state of mind that our people are in. Like, it's a lot of our people that is afraid to step out there. Look at all these small towns like Clinton, Alabama, Monroeville, Alabama, just in the state of Alabama. Those towns are so small and they've been dealing with racism for so long. They are afraid to stand up and say
they're paralyzed. And we can't, we can't move them there.
We might have to start. Oh, I'm sorry. We might have to start calling it domestic terrorism instead of racism, because that's the effect it has. It terrorizes our people. I know
that's a good point.
You know, our grandparents was terrorized to the point where my grandmother left Mississippi when she was, she visited Chicago when she was about 16 to go see my great aunt. And when she got out there, she said, "Oh, I'm coming out here when I turn 18." So she turned 18. She moved from Mississippi to Chicago with acres of land down there, left it all behind because of domestic terrorism. And she ain't been back since. She's 91.
Wow.
So she's been in Chicago for 73 years. Because
now, guys, let's talk about Andrew Brown. When you see the Black people, because I noticed that whenever the police address the citizens or the media, they always have this Black police officer up front. You got the Tim Scotts up front. Do you think that's strategy to put the Black people up front?
Yes, definitely. To say the stuff that they can't say. You know?
You know, you got a lot of Black people that'll fall for anything. You know, they'll get up there, they'll see somebody Black up there, and they'll go for it. Just look at what the Kamala Harris thing. As soon as she was picked for a vice president, everybody Black that I know of, that was on my Facebook page, people that I was running to, oh, we need to go vote for her. That's our first Black vice president. And, you know, everybody just went on that. Didn't know anything about her, didn't research anything about her, and just went and voted just because she was Black. And we got to stop doing that. You know, we look at, what is his name? The Attorney General for Breonna Taylor's case.
Keith Ellison. No.
You're talking about the Black guy.
Daniel Cameron.
Yeah.
Daniel Cameron,
right. Daniel Cameron. I mean, he's a prime example of we can't take a Black face and go with it, you know.
True.
And our people is known for doing that. And so
when this election, we really didn't have we didn't have a choice with this one. I mean, look at the other option was Trump and what's his name? I forgot his name already. Pence.
Pence.
Oh, Pence. Oh, yeah. That was the other. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But I want to talk about Andrew Brown, because this has become, I mean, it's on every news station. Everybody's talking about it. What do we should get from this? Because 20 seconds of tape is all they gave them.
That's 20 seconds. First red flag. You know, if it was some favorite the police, they would have been released it. They're blurring out faces. They're blurring out guns. They're cutting and chopping it up. You know what I mean? Like, they know they messed up, and they're doing everything
Guys,
they can to try and
guess who?
cover
I
it
don't
up.
want to interrupt you, but guess who is joining us? Miss
Hey,
Tish. She's here. Guys, she's in a different time zone. She's out there in Cali also, James.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
hey, Tish.
Yes. She is. This is my homegirl from Monroeville, Alabama. All of us, we all Alabama girls here, James.
Uh-oh.
You got some country girls on the show with you tonight. But Tish is awesome, guys. She's a nurse. She travels all over the country taking care of people, and she's here tonight to give us a lot of input. Now, Tish, we want to bring you up to speed. We've been talking about police brutality, and I know you can just go brrr. So I'm gonna let you just go ahead and brrr about police brutality. What do you think about the state of this country right now with that subject?
well, I honestly, I think it's never changed. It's always been this way. I think people are just more blatant with it. They're more out with it now. I hate to say this, but we had somebody in office that made people feel comfortable doing those things. So I feel like it's just more out now. We have social media, but I feel like it's always been this way. It's never changed, and I just feel like it's being exposed more now. So and now I think people are more people is reaching a bigger audience so people can see, because there are some people that you have people that say, oh, racism doesn't exist, because they only can see what's going on around them. But now that we have social media, people can actually see what's really going on out there, and I think more people are getting involved now that we can
I'm
see.
glad you brought that up, because we were just talking about Tim Scott, who said, Tim Scott and Kamala Harris, I'm going to put it out there, both of them said, America's not racist. What do you have to say about that, Tish?
Well, I think maybe it is. I think the majority of people aren't racist, maybe, but this country is racist. We have systemic racism. So regardless of how people feel, they probably are more accepting of people of color now, but we still got a system in place that's against us. So, that's not really helping us, just because people are, like I said, people are aware now, but the fact that the system that we have in place, it is a racist system. So I don't know if they meant people or if they meant the system, because I think more people are, a lot of people have gotten away from the old ways, but the system is still in place. It's still here. So regardless of how people feel about it, if they don't change the system, then this system was not built for us.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Well,
not
I'm going
built
to ask
for
you
us.
right. I'm going to ask you the question everybody else was asked, because we've talked about a lot of stuff. But one of the things we talked about is, do we think that the protests, because Charlotte, and I kind of agree with her too, she said that the protests aren't working. It's just not the thing. We got to stop spending. And so what I did is I read a quote from Martin Luther King, from the I've been to the mountaintop speech, and he does address economic support, withdrawing it. What do you think is, because we can have so many ideas about what is going to work. Do you think that protests work? Do you think protests coupled with stop spending at these corporations helps? What do you think about where we should be leaning towards so we can make a difference?
Well, I've never thought that the protests were going to work anyway. I mean, that's just me, because I feel like if you're not hitting people in their pockets, because people care about money. And that's just the bottom line. You can say what you want to say, but that is what people care about. They care about money. So when you hit them in their pockets, that's the only time they're going to get up and be like, oh, okay, we got to do something. But as long as we're out there marching and, carrying on and doing all that stuff, they're not bothered. They're in their fine homes.
They're used to that.
Yeah. They don't care. It's not bothering them. We're out in the streets protesting. They're in their suburban homes, away from all of that. And they will put their 2 cents in and say that, oh, look at them, they're out there tearing up the cities and burning up their own stuff. Look at those ignorant people. They say that they don't care. I mean, it's not affecting them. It's
Now,
not affecting
before we get into the voting laws, because that's another thing that we had to come together today to talk about. But I want to address some things here, and I want each one of you to dig in on this, and I want you to give a brief response, because these are the things that I'm told is the opposition to what we're doing. So I said, well, we'll address that on the show. One of them is, why don't these people just do as they're told? That's what white people do. I want you to address that one, James. I'm going to give each one. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give each one of you one to address. That's yours, James.
That's a bold lie. That's a bold-faced lie. We have plenty of video now that disproves that. You can see white people driving off, running naked with knives, and some even armed with guns, and police not opening fire, let alone emptying a clip on them. I think right now it's not about training. It's a choice. They look at some as humans. They look at others as not. They look at some as their cousins, sisters, mothers, nieces, brothers, and they look at others as their enemies. I mean, that's all I can say. I mean, we've seen them. They've been caught with targets of black people, using as targets to shoot in police forces now. So that would be my answer to it, to make it brief.
Okay. Next one. That's good. Very good. All right. This one's yours, Tish, because everybody else had answered this one. Why don't y'all worry about all of the kids being killed in Chicago and other Democratic states?
Is that for me?
Yeah, that's yours.
Yeah.
Want me to read it again? Want me to say it again?
So basically, you're talking about black on black crime, right?
That's it.
Why is it that is even a thing? Why is it? Because white people kill white people, Asians kill Asians. People kill. If you're violent or something goes down, you're gonna kill the people that's in your vicinity. So if I'm in a black neighborhood and something happens, then guess what? If I get into it with somebody and I shoot them, it's gonna be a black person. It happens in every community. It's not just. So why is it that the black on black is a thing? It shouldn't even be a thing. Crime is crime. Like I say, it just doesn't happen in the black community. It happens everywhere. So I feel like anything that is that has to do with black people is always highlighted. Anything. I don't care what it is. And I'm gonna say this, even anything dealing with our culture that we know nothing about. I'm gonna bring up an example, and you may not agree with me, but I went to Egypt. I did a lot of studying on the history of Africa, and Christianity was not there. Africans practiced voodoo. That's what they did, but it wasn't like what people think it is. They still practice it today, but because it was something that we did, they highlight it and say, "Oh my God, it's this awful thing," and you're putting spells on people. It's nothing like that. But anything that has to do with us is always highlighted, and it makes it look bad. So anything that's black is bad. If you really think about it, anything dealing with our culture is bad. Our crime is bad. The crack epidemic. They just bad. You know what happened to the crackheads? They got thrown in prison. But guess what? Now it's an opioid epidemic. We got to do something about this. But the thing is, guess who's running these? These are pharmacists. These are the people, the big people that back then it was, you might be your uncle on the corner selling you drugs, or they didn't care about that. But so now it's all of a sudden it's an epidemic. We got to do something about this. It's killing us. It's not killing us, killing y'all.
That's right.
So I feel like the black on black crime thing, and I used to have a different perspective on it. I used to care about it, but now, after all the years have passed, I realize that it's not even a thing. Crime is crime. So if I'm gonna worry about black people killing black people, then y'all need to worry about y'all going in buildings, random people that y'all don't know, and shooting up the place. We don't do that. So why don't y'all worry about that? Worry about that.
I want you to address this comment that this guy just said, Obsidian. He said that Democrats invented segregation and Jim Crow laws that lasted through the 1960s. Democrats also came up with the separate but equal rationale that justified segregation.
So, but the thing is, a lot of people keep bringing up the Democrat and Republicans. Yes, back then, the Democrats and the Republicans were on different sides. But then in the 1960s, you got a different president who came in and he supported slavery. Hold on. Hello? I'm sorry, somebody's at my door. Hold on.
That's okay. You wanna pick up a little bit, James, until she gets back on that? You want to have a comment about what he said? Do you want me to bring the comment up again?
Yeah.
Democrats invented segregation and Jim Crow.
Yeah, that's one of their typical talking points.
True.
I'm sorry.
You know, they don't ever say that black people was Republicans because they were trying to conserve the land that was getting taken from them by the government. You know, they was trying to save their land, that millions of acres of farmland that got took away from black farmers back then. And the only reason the Democrats even got black votes was to switch and pass the Voting Rights Act. You know, and that made a lot of the Democrats that he's talking about for those policies switch over to Republicans. So if he's a Republican, then those Democrats he's talking about and their grandkids and their kids are right over there in the party with him now.
Right. You want to finish your thought, Tish?
Yeah, no, I was just saying that, they love to bring that point up. Oh, it was the Democrats, but we are two different parties now. I don't care what they did back then. You got to look at the people. But like when they had the civil rights laws in 1964, that's when everything switched around. And then you had even Ronald Reagan. He was supporting stuff that was against colored people. So I don't care about that when they say that. That's dead.
Yeah, I'm used to it.
Let's talk about today. What are the Democrats today? What are the Republicans today? I don't care what happened in the 1800s. We're talking about something totally different right now. So it doesn't bother me when people bring that up because they know what the truth is.
All right. I wanna give you this one, Charlotte. You ready? She's just sitting there like, oh Lord. Okay, this is another one they tell me. They said, Ella, not all cops are bad. There's some good cops.
There's good people, there's bad people, and that's a fact. I mean, not all cops are bad, but it's a majority of them that are. And so those are the ones that we're concerned about. And then, the good ones, they should speak up more against their own, cops or whatever. So, all cops aren't bad, but I believe they all receive the same training. Now, what they come out on the street and do is totally different. I feel that all of the cops, well, I don't know if all the cops, I feel that the cops are being trained to, there's no detaining. It's straight killing. Like they pull up to you. They don't pull up to ask you a question. They don't pull up to detain you. It's just straight murder. So it makes me feel like they're being trained to do that. So, there aren't all bad cops. Some good cops, some bad cops. And that's a fact. But
this is what I want to say. This is what I want to add about the good cops, bad cops thing. All right, James. When George Floyd was getting his knee in the neck by Chauvin, how many other cops were there?
Okay, I think we had two more on this body and one more on watching guard, like kind of holding the crowd off. So to me, they should have been at least accessories to the second degree murder. And it goes back to what we was talking about a little earlier. You do everything.
No, what I was getting at, the point I was trying to make, James, is they didn't stop.
No, not at all.
You want me to believe that there are some good cops and bad cops? When are they going to show up? How am I going to know where the good ones are? Because that day they had an opportunity to prove to me you're a good cop. You didn't. None of you stopped him. But Ella, say, well, they were in training. That's BS. No,
Ella, that goes back to what I said. It's the system. So you might have good people that come in, but they're gonna fall in line. I mean, they're gonna fall in line because they're afraid that if they try to go against the whole force, then they're gonna lose their job. So what they do, they might be good cops, but they're not gonna say anything. But like I said, it is the system. That's how they operate. And then to piggyback off of what James said earlier about you asked the question about, well, why can't we do what we're asked to do if white people do? First of all, white people don't get approached like we do. If somebody approaches you with a smile and say, hey, how are you today? Let me see your driver's license and your registration. I noticed you were going a little fast. You're speeding, doing 40, 42 and a 35. Let me, and well, I was going to pick my baby up. Well, ma'am, you have a good day. Just slow it down. We don't get that same treatment. So of course we're going to act different because we're going to be on the defense when you have somebody approaching you in a certain way. So they don't have to be they don't have to. It doesn't. The question is why do they do what they're asked? They're not asked to do anything. So what I mean, we're asked to do a million things. Get out the car. Put your hands on the hood.
Yeah, so many at one time, and you're like, well, which one you want me to do?
I'm gonna tell you a story. Back when I was in high school in Monroeville, I was right in front of McDonald's, driving, and a white guy in a Trans Am ran me almost off the road over by where the AutoZone is. So I slowed down and pulled over. Cop got behind me. He pulled me over in the McDonald's parking lot. He said, "Ma'am, let me see your ID and registration." I said, "Why are you pulling me over?" He said, "Let me see your ID and registration." "Why are you pulling me over?" He said, "Well, you just swerved." I said, "Did you not see the white man in the Trans Am run me off the road?" I said, "He was speeding. Did you not see that?" He didn't want to talk about that. He wants to see my ID and registration. I said, "I'm not giving you anything." And I let my window up, and then he said, "Ma'am, let the window down." He was, tapping on the window with his stick or whatever. I said, "I'm not letting it down." He said, "Let the window down." So I let it down about that much. And I said, "How can I help you?" He said, "I need you to get out the car and show me your ID." I was like, "You pulled me over for no reason." I said, "Somebody ran me off the road. You were right behind us. Why are you harassing me?" And I mean, he just came at me, so I was like, "I'm not getting out the car. I'm not telling you my name. I'm not." And it sounds like, okay, she's, being defiant. It had nothing to do with me being defiant. It had everything to do with you pulling me over for all the wrong reasons. And the only reason he said, "You're going to jail. I'm taking you to jail." I said, "Well, how are you going to take me to jail? I'm not getting out this car." And he was like, "Well, ma'am, step out the car." I said, "I'm not." And I said, "I'll drive myself to the police station. I'll do that. And then I'll go in there and talk to the sheriff, to, whoever his supervisor was at the time." So anyway, he ended up calling back up, and Doug Davison was the one that showed up. And Doug was like, "Man, she's okay. I know her." And that's the only thing that saved me. But that guy was ready to shoot me. Like, he was ready to kill me.
Wow.
And I know he was. But my thing was, if I know that I had done something wrong and you pull me over, okay, of course. Yeah, here's my license registration. I know I did wrong. But when you know you haven't done anything wrong, you already on the defense about why have you pulled me over. So they don't have to do anything. We're the ones that always gotta comply. So I don't agree with that at all.
Now, James and Stella, have either one of you guys had an experience with police similar to Tish's?
Oh man, so many. I can't, man. It would be here all night, me telling stories with the police, But I wanted to piggyback off her and say to the people that it's mighty ironic that the same people who say fight for your rights and fight for your justice tell us to just throw ours out the window when we come into contact with police. It goes back to that property type mentality. Like, they don't feel like we have no rights. They feel like we don't have no right to self-defense. We don't have no right to, only right they think we have is to remain silent. Die silently, protest. Even if you protest silently, they don't like that. So the only thing they want us to do is just die silently. Yeah. But I had a lot of encounters with the police. One of the most egregious encounters I had with the police was we was hanging out at one of my friend's house, and we was like literally 30 feet from the public street, and the police, they pulled up in his yard, drove on his grass, jumped out on us, threw us all in the cars, handcuffed us, searched us all. And I was asking one of them a question, and I was basically saying, what's going on? Like, why are you guys getting on us like this? What we do? And he was like, "Shut up. You know what I'm saying? Be quiet, shut your mouth." And I started asking another question, did we fit the description? Did somebody call in on us? We just sitting here chilling, like, why y'all doing all this? And right in the middle of my sentence, one of them grabbed me by the back and lifted me up, choked me over the one side of the car, from the passenger side all the way up to the driver's side. Now, mind you, I'm already cuffed up. So now I'm getting snatched up over the hood. I'm a little dude, I only weigh about 150. So he take me. They say we got a talker. You know, they throw me in the car, and then I'm in the car right waiting, and then they throw the guy who lives there in the car. So now they got the guy who's asking them questions, valid questions, in the car, and they got the guy who actually lives there in the car, so they can do everything legal they wanted to do. Finally, a sergeant come. He apologizes for what happened, and I tell him like, "Well, you don't have to apologize. You're not the one who snatched me up and choked me up. It was that guy. He should be apologizing." He said, "Oh, I see you still mad. I'm gonna let you cool off. Close the door." At this time, the guy that's with me who lived there, he just started bawling. He's like, "Oh, we finna go to jail. Won't you be cool? Won't you be quiet? You always do this. You always question them." I'm like, "Be cool. We ain't finna go to jail. We didn't do nothing. Asking questions ain't illegal." So the sergeant come back. He said the guy apologized again. Will you accept this apology? I said whatever to get us out the car. You know, my friend, he's going through it right now. So, long story short, I got choked up, snatched up over the car, threw in the car just for asking a couple questions. And now it's just
And even though we know that it's our right to ask questions, it gets us killed, though, Charlotte and Tish. It gets us killed. So what do people do? Are they supposed to just not ask questions? Wait till they get to the police station, ask questions? What would we want to say to our viewers on what they should do in a situation like where James was? Because you were blessed, Tish. You had somebody that knew you. But James, their situation could have gone totally different. What should they do?
That's my question. What do they want us to do? I mean, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Even if you pull up and have your hands out and comply, they're still going to treat you different. I mean, they're still gonna feel like they're intimidating you. And I'm gonna quote something somebody said. I can't remember who it was, but the police, and the way it looks, they police black people and they serve and protect white people.
yeah.
I hate to say that. I hate to say that, but that, and for when you say there are good cops, I'm pretty sure there are good cops, but I've never seen one. So for me, all I know is what I've seen. So I just have this, this thing about police. If a cop gets behind me, I am scared to death. And I don't even, I was telling
Me too. And I haven't done anything wrong. I get nervous.
Because I don't feel like they're there to protect me. Even if I'm speeding, I shouldn't feel scared about speeding. Hey, I'm speeding, I might get a ticket, I might not. Well, let me just, give. But all of my encounters have been, all of them have been bad. I had a police officer to pull me over. I was coming from Tuscaloosa going to Birmingham. I just got a brand new BMW. It was a 650 IS. Was driving up the interstate. I had my tags and everything, and a state trooper passed me. And when he saw me, he slowed down and pulled back. And I'm like, oh, I know I'm not speeding. I'm not speeding. So he pulled me over, and he comes to my passenger side, and he says, this is what he said: "How are you paying for this car?" And I'm like, what?
No way.
How are you paying for this car? I said, excuse me? I said, was I speeding? I mean, did I do something wrong? How are you paying for this car? I said, sir, you out of line. He said, let me see your paperwork. So I get my license and my registration out to get to him. He said, no, I don't want that paperwork. Let me see the paperwork where you got the car financed. And I'm like, I said, is this what y'all do? Is this part of your job? I said, because if it is, I'm going to report you. If it's not, I'm going to report you. I said, you have no business asking me for my finance papers. I said, if you want my driver's license registration, here it is. But I'm not going to get, and then he was like, I said, I'm going to report you. What is your name? He gave me my stuff back, and he said, you have a nice day. And I'm like, really? Like, it could have gone any kind of way. Like, you pulled me over to ask me how. I said I go to work every day. So I get tired of the premonition that people think that black people can't have nothing. Like, we can't, like, we don't get up and go to work every day. We can't make money. We can't buy stuff. I hate that they feel like, but I know that they feel like we shouldn't. Not that we can't, that we shouldn't. I'm a state trooper. I don't drive that kind of car. What are you doing driving?
It must be something about the BMWs, because I got stopped when I had one. Thank God I've gotten rid of it.
Yeah,
But
but
I had one,
that was wrong. That was wrong. And then vice versa.
yes.
Yeah, and then I've even had bad experience with black cops. So for me, it's a no for cops. That's just me. It's
Well,
it's just a no for me.
black cops are terrified, just as terrified as us when they're not in uniform. So that should tell you something. Even when that guy in Dallas at I think Mackay something, the one they blew up with the robot, the guy that killed the police, the chief came out and was honest and was like, I'm terrified of police when I'm not in uniform, and they got rid of him.
Yeah, but it's the truth. But
Yeah.
I don't care. But if you're terrified when you're not in uniform, then you shouldn't treat people. But like I said, it's the system. You get in there and you gotta follow what everybody else do, or you're gonna lose your job. You're gonna be pushed out. So I just
Okay,
feel
well,
like
I got one more. I'm gonna show this one. I'm gonna send this one to you, James.
Oh,
This one said, this is another opposition. They said, can't they just peacefully protest like in the good old days? Can't they protest in such a way that isn't divisive, in a way that isn't about blame? Can't they protest in a way that I can feel a part of? Can't they incorporate their gratitude to people like me into their protest so that I can feel welcomed?
absolutely not. To be the short answer, but to even go longer and elaborate, we'll never satisfy these people. And I'm gonna keep reiterating that you can't be use reason with people who unreasonable. Racism in itself is illogical. We all taught about, most of us are taught about Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny as kids and tooth fairies, but as we get older, we realize that it's not true, and we move on and we mature. I feel the same thing with racism. They might get taught that this person is better or whatever, but as you get older, you mature. You should see, your brain should be mature enough to logically make a decision that my skin color don't make me better than this person or that person, especially when you're seeing evidence everywhere to the contrary. Because when you look at American culture, we are American culture. We're the sports, we're the music, we're the entertainment. We are the culture. So for someone that have that mentality, or even a so-called ally, you know what I mean, an ally, for ally to even try to suggest how or what we should be doing instead of just getting fully behind what we're doing, lets me know they're not an ally in the first place. So I never try to satisfy these people with how we protest or how we do anything, because nothing was satisfying. The only rights we got is to remain silent. You know what I mean? In their eyes. So I like I said, absolutely not. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna stand on that.
Because I hear people say a lot of times, Charlotte and Tish, that they're like, well, if you guys would say it this way, we can join you. Well, if you guys do it this way, you'll get more of our support. And I'm just like, well, you can't come in here and tell us to see what you want us to see. Like, people wanted us to look at that George Floyd incident, and they didn't want us to see a white man in the neck of a man who until he stopped breathing. They didn't want us to see that. That's what we saw. Why are you trying to change what I saw? Why are you trying to change what I say about what I saw? That is what happened. So you guys speak on that. Why is it that they're always trying to get us to change what and how we do what we do? Tish.
I mean, it's a control mechanism, and that's how that's how it's always been. And now it's like, we're educated and we're smart, and the most dangerous thing in the world is an educated black person. They don't like that. They don't, I told one of my coworkers a few years back, he was an avid Trump supporter, and we worked in the same office, and he was a friend, but I used to talk to him about the stuff, things, and he would always feel like somebody's trying to take something from him. Oh, y'all, they just trying to take something from us. I said, trying to take what? I said, I almost said his name. I said, you have not gone to college. You don't have a degree. You don't have nothing. I said, but now you got to compete for anything that you get. See, back in the day, in the good old boy system, y'all didn't have to compete for nothing. You just, hey, hook my son up. He needs a job. You're not qualified to do the things that you do, and now it matters. So nobody's taking anything from you. And I feel like, I was talking to another nurse a couple of weeks ago, and he said, Letitia, when I was growing up, whenever I would watch the news, all the criminals would be black people. And now they're trying to make it look like white people are criminals. Like they're trying to turn stuff around. And I'm like, really? Like, you really just said that to me. I said, no, we're not trying to make you look like anything. We were talking about the thing on the Capitol. I said, those guys are criminals. It's not, what they did was wrong. I said, none of us could have gone in that Capitol and made it 2 steps towards that place. We would have been shot and killed on
what
scene.
what
I said, that was like,
bunch of dead bodies, black bodies, definitely.
Yeah, you're talking about white privilege and they talk about the lady that got shot in there. I said, well, how did her white privilege work for her? I said her white privilege got her through the door. I said her stupidity got her killed. Don't put that on there. I said she still was able to get through the door. I would have never been able to get through the door, and I look at some of the sites and I read the comments and they was like, oh, those are law-abiding Christian men and they just want to go in there and they want to get their point across. Why can't you ever say that about us? Why we got to be hoodlums and thugs all the time? We trying to get our point across too.
Okay, James, we would have made 1 step, but we would not have made 2. That is for sure.
No, at all. You would have been dead on the spot.
It would have been a way.
I want to say,
footprint.
Go ahead, Charlotte.
No, because Taryn would have called up there 15 minutes before y'all got to the door and say, look, it's a group of black folks headed towards the Capitol. You wouldn't even got there. You would have been dead down the road. Period.
We're laughing, but it is so true. It is. Yes, Charlotte.
I just wanted to add to what your question was about why won't we protest a different kind of way so that they could feel like they could be a part of it. Maybe we should start looking at different ways to protest. That's just one way of going to the street protesting. We could protest by not going to work. A lot of the people that work in the businesses are black. Just like the same way that we're going into the stores. Most of the people that's going into the stores are black. So we could protest different ways. We need to start looking at different ways to protest. Let's just say everybody said, well, I'm not going to work. Okay, that's going to hurt their pockets as well as us protesting saying, we're going to stop spending. And that way, that'll keep us out the street and that'll take away comments like that people are saying.
I don't think it won't take the comments away. They still gonna have something to say. Still, how could you do this to you? You guys you need to come to work. You don't need to do that. It's gonna be something. It doesn't matter what we do. It's always gonna be something. And it goes back to what I said. It's the system. And I think a lot of people during the Confederacy, they don't know about the cornerstone speech. And I would throw this in any of my friends' face. They wear their Confederate flags and they all hey, it's just part of my heritage. I was like, well, let me tell you a thing or two about your heritage. I said, read the cornerstone speech. In that speech, the vice president of the Confederacy said that niggers, he didn't say Negroes. We are subordinates. We're not, basically in so many words, we aren't people, we aren't humans, and that is the way that God made it. And that is what they taught those people, and it has just been passed down. So people are never gonna look at us as equal because of that was embedded in those people that many years ago. But yeah, this is how God made it. I want all of you, if you've never read the Cornerstone speech, go and read it. It's long, but it basically is the reason why people think the way they think. Because they told the people in the Confederacy that we were designed to be underneath white people. We were designed this way.
So, Ms. Rogers, what do you think about different ways of protest? I mean, how do you feel about us stop spending money, like for real? Like, I mean, seriously,
don't ask me because I'm ready to shoot. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I'm ready because the thing is, if you keep getting the same outcome, you got to change your action if you want to change the outcome. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again with the same outcome and expecting something different to happen. So by now, people are so over, at first people are like, okay, they're out there, they're protesting. Look at them, honey. Look at them. They're so passionate. They're protesting and then in a minute, then they just get over it. They don't care anymore. So I feel like, that's the way I feel about it. I'm just gonna hush, but
And then that's what they expect,
the
because when
most
yeah,
thing, hit them where it hurt.
yeah.
Do any of you guys watch the Godfather of Harlem?
Yeah,
Any? So
I do.
did you see the last one? Okay, so if you've never watched the Godfather of Harlem, Ella, it's a good show. It's about Bumpy Johnson, and
Okay.
he's like a drug lord, and he does business with the Italians. But it's back in the time when Malcolm X was. Malcolm X is also in this series. Muhammad Ali, so it just shows racism to its core, how they treat the black people. There was a scene when a black boy picked up an apple, and the police came in and just beat up all the little black kids just because he picked an apple up. So all this stuff has been going on. They beating black folks, beating old men, just no reason, Ella, no reason. So Bumpy Johnson and Malcolm X get together, and what they did, they had they were holding these black kids in jail over that apple. And one of the men was the shoe shiner, and they had beat him pretty bad, and he was dying in jail. And they kept begging, "Hey, can the chief to let him out? He needs some medical attention?" He was like, "No, I'm not letting him out." The answer is no, I'm not. And then they even went to the Italians and said, "Can you please talk to him?" And the Italian said, "I'm not doing nothing for your nigga friends." So
Ooh.
what ended up happening was Bumpy Johnson got some of his guys to go to this chief's house and tie up his wife and his children. And he went in the police station and he called and he said, "Here." And the guy told him, "Hey, I'm at your house and I got your wife and your kids." And that is the only thing that made that chief of police let that man go, so that he could get medical attention. Because otherwise, he didn't care about it. Y'all don't have nothing that I care about. They don't empathize or sympathize with us. So that is the problem. They can't. You can't empathize. You can't put yourself in my shoes. Then it's an issue. But until they went in there and held his wife and kids hostage, that's the only thing that made him move. So
Wow.
like I said, you can do all the protests and all, and even if we stop spending, that might not even work. But I doubt it. We're not gonna stop. We're not gonna stop spending. We're not gonna stop going to work. But me, I'll stop today. But you can't go at stuff alone. It has to be everybody or nothing. And that's the issue. We can't unify. And I'll say this: black people don't want unity, they want uniformity. And that's the problem.
Mm.
Very good
In
point.
order for us to get people, what I did notice is how I feel like I got so much success with a town like this because our crime is very high here in Montgomery. I think we're on like murder number 30 something, and we're just in April. I think the community is looking for more people that's not leaders, that's not trying to be a politician, that's not from a religious organization, just regular people from the community that has been through some things. And those are the people that the community want to see. They don't want to talk to people that's politicians no more. They're tired of that. And I think that's why I seem like I'm getting so much success out in the street, because I'm not looking for nothing in return. I just want to see our people come up with some ideas and some solutions that'll work out for us. And then we're not trying to get no politicians or no religious organizations involved with that. I do think that, what we are seeing is what we're doing is not working. So it's time for us to start being more creative and start coming up with some different ideas. Things like not going to work and not spending is something that we haven't done since back in the day. We only got stuck on the one thing, the running to the streets. When are we going to start looking into something else? We got to start coming up with something else so we can get different results. Unless, it's going to get worse than this. My end goal is to see us segregate back. I think that was the worst thing that happened to us for us to come together. I think that we need to segregate back. I think that we're educated now. I think that we have, we have education, we have income, we can segregate back. I mean, they're not giving us nothing anyways. So, we keep reaching out to a system that wasn't even designed for us, even down to the voting. You know, me, I'm against voting because I just don't see anything that we're voting for. Like everybody went to the polls to vote for Joe Biden, and Joe Biden hasn't done anything for us right now. And everybody knew he wasn't going to do anything for us, and they still went out there and voted for him. And still, I just would like to see us start looking at things from a different perspective. You know, we need to try to figure out a way to segregate back. You know, we don't need to be tied in with their system. Their system was never built for us. We're going to always fail. We're going to always get shot down by the police. You know, we're not going to get anything out of the system because it was never put together for us. So at some point, we got to start trying to just look at it from a different perspective and try to figure out a way, how can we segregate back out of this situation? Like, we're strong now. We're strong. We could have our own government. You know, we're educated now. You know, we're not in the same situation that we were in when Martin Luther King and them were here. So, you know, we have to start embracing that. You know, we're way more educated than them. And so we have to start embracing where we are right now and start trying to come up with a way.
What do you think about that, James?
I think that saving money and not spending is a great idea. And I also agree with the coming together. Like I was saying earlier, how our grandparents left the South and came to California. In these last few years, in the last decade, I've been seeing a reverse of that. I've been seeing a lot of people from California going to Texas is the main place. A lot of people from California is moving to. So I think that if we can, you know, like I never lived in a majority. Well, I lived in Oakland and it seemed like it was majority black. You know what I mean? But I never lived in like a down south, like in Dallas or Atlanta, where everybody is black, the politicians, the workers, you know what I mean, everywhere. I'm in California. We only it's like 6% black out here, Tish.
Yeah.
Like 5-6. So it's the diversity thing, you know, it works for me because I'm gonna do well regardless of wherever I'm at. But I can see a lot of people who can benefit, like if they just left California, especially the Bay Area, because with gentrification, Oakland has turned into a homeless camp. You know,
it's like that in LA too. It's horrible.
It's horrible. I mean, black men are like 3% of the population, 2-3% of the population, but like 48 to 50% of the homeless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when I go home to Oakland, like every underpass I go under, is no walking room on the sidewalk because it's tent cities every underpass.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurt my heart when I went one time because it was actually
that many people, Tish.
Oh,
it's under the because I see like one or two.
It's
off the charts.
It is
it's crazy.
It is. It is. I've never seen anything like it in my life. But I want to say,
where's Skid Row? What part of California is Skid Row?
That's
LA. It's in LA. It's horrible. And I just want to say something to Charlotte that, you know, the reason why none of that you just said, as good as it sounds, would never happen is because of fear. Fear. And I will tell you, and I asked myself, I said, okay, so when they had us, when they had the slaves, you know, in these slave camps and on these plantations, the slaves never, you know, you had some that tried to escape, but they didn't have them in shackles and chains. They were out there in those fields working and doing what they needed to do. And I felt like some of them were probably so big and strong that they probably could overpower this overseer. But the reason they did not is because of fear.
True.
They had control of their minds.
Yes.
And that is still true today.
Yes.
They have mind control over us. And that is the problem. And I'm going to tell you the number one way they got control over us is through religion.
Oh,
and I'm going to hush about that. That's the number one way they're able, because we got this, let's include everybody and we don't want to hurt nobody's feelings and let's know.
Well, we have to think about it realistically too, because I was born in 76, so I'm the first generation born with all my so-called rights, right? So that means my mother and my grandmother was born under Jim Crow laws and oppression, basically. So we have a couple generations that still was born up under that and was raised up under that and was terrorized by that. like my generation is a little bit different. We kind of overcompensated with the violence because, like, when I was growing up, when we saw Mississippi burning or Roots or anything like that, we basically went out looking for somebody to to get into it with, but it wasn't nobody around in Oakland like that. So we just came back to where we was at with all this pent up anger. And now that we didn't ran everybody else out, now we turning this anger on each other. So we kind of overcompensated where we said, like, we'll never let them do that to us again. Can't nobody do us like that again. And that ego and that pride built up. And now it's like, it's out of control. Now it's like we overcompensating, but our the two generations before ours are the ones who they depend on to vote and do all this other stuff, religion, they in the church heavy, you know what I mean? Like they still have that mentality, and it's on us to raise our kids and the next generation, to fully embrace the freedom that they have, you know what I mean? And to try to make it to make this freedom turn into some type of financial benefit. Because unless we can bring some type of financial benefit to the urban community, we're not going to stop with the poverty crimes. Most of the crimes in our community are committed because of poverty. Like Tish said, we don't go into restaurants and just shoot up people. We don't hit the movie theater and just shoot up people. We go to somebody who done killed one of our cousins or one of our brothers, or we see somebody who done shot one of our friends, and then we might do some criminal activities. Or we have to help our parents with the bills, or we have to feed our kids. So now we have to sell some drugs because we can't get a job that pays enough. You know what I mean? So until we can bring some type of financial relief to our community, I don't think a lot of these problems are going to continue to consist. But the saving money, and if we can double that with investing, like I'm in a group called DCG, Digital Currency Guys, and basically, it's a group of experts in investing that teach us step by step how to invest our money. We got people who turn 500 into 3,500. I mean, it's just about coming together and teaching each other, and that's what I love because it actually.
We got to bring you back on to talk about that. I think that's a good topic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Once we save our money, Charlotte, then we got to invest in something.
You got it, but our young kids don't care about that kind of stuff. And I feel like, they are so consumed with stuff that doesn't even matter now that, and I look at my own children, I'm like, I don't know who kids y'all are.
Well, with the
I don't know who.
It's funny with the Dogecoin getting popular. It was actually a joke of a coin. They made it as a joke, but with everybody with it getting popular, my kids even text me, say, "Hey, Dad, what about Dogecoin?" I was like, "Huh?" And so we got the law of fascination in our community where we have to have a celebrity or like somebody with a lot of money or somebody popular say something. You know what I mean? And then we'll line up. So we might have to just start pushing up on those type of guys and making sure they start putting out the right message. A lot of people don't know in Oakland. When the Black Panthers came out, the drug dealers and pimps did not like them at all. And there was a whole lot of wars going on, and I had people in my family on both sides, you know what I mean? And I had an uncle, rest in peace, that couldn't go back to Oakland because of those type of wars. So it might take a little bit of unorthodox methods in order for us to clear a space where we can come together and do stuff financially.
Unorthodox methods. What exactly? I know Tish probably has the answer for this.
Kind of like with Tish, you know what I'm saying?
She's ready to start shooting. She already said that.
Yeah.
Hey, you asked and I told you the
That's
truth.
An unorthodox method.
Yeah. So
but I like that.
Yeah, I think
I know it's frowned upon and it's not the best answer, but I just feel like
you feel that way sometimes.
I feel that way sometimes, and and like I said, Charlotte has some wonderful ideas, but I don't think, like I said, fear is gonna hold us back. We're not gonna embrace it. It's only a handful of us out here that are not afraid to step out and do some things, but everybody else is like, oh no, They scared of what people gonna think of them or what people
I
gonna
think it's
say.
fear, and I think it's religion.
They got this job, and like she said,
Yeah.
and I have been saying this for years. Stop running to politicians and freaking preachers every time something goes on. Every time, whenever a person get down or something goes on, the first thing they want you to do is run to the church, run to the church, run to the church. Well, look, guess what? I said this on the last show. Our Black communities are full of churches, full of them, and they ain't doing nothing. Nothing. So people, and I would never make that statement if people wouldn't always say, well, you need to get back in the church. You need to get back in the church. Go to this. It's always those people who are held to a higher standard than the people that really matter. Like Charlotte said, the people that's out here in the communities that can really come in and help, that really got this experience, that got, that they can come in and put their stuff together. But we reach out to the wrong people. And I've always said this, I've said this 20 years. This is the reason why y'all are in the same positions, because y'all keep running to the same old mess. The same mess. And you gotta cut them folks out, because if the churches are controlled by the government, and so are the politicians. And they ain't gonna do nothing to jeopardize what they got going on. They're not.
And, I know people may have a strong opinion of what Tish is saying, but let's look at the proof of it. Every time I talk to a minister about the racial injustices in this country, they all say the same thing: pray. You just gotta pray and ask God.
That ain't doing nothing.
That contract. They signed that contract.
That is, I mean,
you stand in your house and you on your knees, and they still out there whooping your ass. And I'm sorry.
A lot of churches signed that 501 3C contract with the government that they will stay out of politics to get the tax breaks.
They can't.
So that's the bottom line of it. You know what I mean? Martin Luther King, before that they had that, Martin Luther King was the leaders, and they was preachers. It was a Deacons for Defense. It was preachers out there on the front line. You'll never see TD Jakes out there.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
So I don't really think he care like that, to be honest. That's a whole nother can of worms.
That is
when your members pull up and they driving some old clunkers, and you up there G'd up, got on diamond cufflinks and stuff, and your members can barely get by, barely can pay their bills, and you steady making money. But that's mind control. They got them people.
You know what I heard? Somebody asked me, why is it that every other race pick up a religious book and go out searching for freedom and fighting and will die for it, but we pick up a religious book and we just do the opposite?
Yeah.
When
that's a very good point, because the book has the same words in it.
Yeah, when the Europeans picked up the Bible, it told them to conquer the world. When the Arabs pick up the Quran, it tell them to go out and fight in jihad. When Black people pick up the Bible, we tell them to pray and sing and
humble yourself and just,
obey your masters.
Cower down.
Why is that?
You gonna get your prize when you get to heaven. No, give me mine now, because I don't even know what's gonna happen when I die. Give me my prize now. I can't believe that people still holding on to that junk. Well, you might be going through something right now, but just keep your eye on the prize. You're gonna get to heaven one day, and it ain't gonna be no more sickness. And no, shut up. What about now? Teach me how to live on earth. Don't prepare me to die. I want to learn how to live.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie. When I go to funerals and I don't have nothing else to say, then I just start saying like, "Oh, they in a better place." We've
been conditioned to say that.
Yeah, like I don't know what else to say, so I figure that's what I can say that's gonna help them out.
You don't know where they at.
No, I don't. No, I know where they at. They right there in front of me.
In the ground. Just say, you know what? I'm sorry this happened. I miss, and I hope you guys have peace and comfort in this time. And, I love you, but, all this stuff about, Lord, all my prayer warriors.
You know what?
They're praying for you. They might be praying against you.
But to end that, though, guys, the Bible does say that Jesus says that I came to give you life and give it to you more abundantly. He didn't say that I came so that you can sit around, do what you got to do, wait till you get to heaven, and then I'll give it to you. We made that up because we're afraid. And I just, but we're going to get into some talk about voting, because I need people out there to really pay attention to what's going on, because they're going to catch y'all sleep if you're not careful. Right, Tish? Because these laws that not only, because I know we said we were going to talk about Florida and Georgia, but there are 35 states right now that have joined in on these anti-riot laws and all this stuff. So y'all need to stay woke for real, because they're not playing. Now, Tish, I want you to kind of break it down. Let's start with Florida. Let's start with what's going on in Florida. Talk to me about what's going on.
So what the new voter laws in Florida, they're basically restricting the amount of ballot boxes that can be put out. They're cutting back the number of days that you can do early voting. Like, just say, for instance, you got 20 days to do early voting. Oh, now you can only have 10 days. And then they're also the capacity of like Atlanta is huge. So they're cutting the time that people can get in and vote. So it's gonna make it difficult for everybody to get in, and vote. So that, and then they're also cutting. If you are helping somebody in line, it used to be you had to be 100 feet from the voters. Now you have to be 150 feet. So they just, all of it is suppression. And I understand, Charlotte's point that some people feel like they're not going to vote because it don't work anyway. Well, it might not work, but if you don't vote, it's going to be 10 times worse. It's going to be 10 times worse if you don't vote. If you don't put, you got to put your input in. Because sometimes we say, oh, well, I ain't voting, it ain't going to work. And then when it doesn't work, it's because people have that attitude. They're saying, well, I'm not going to do it. Well, you don't know what can happen. Look what Stacey Abrams did in Georgia. They flipped the state. She went out and got them black folks out their houses and took them down there to vote.
Yes, she
did. The state flipped. Okay, and then as far as, we're saying, oh, well, Joe Biden hadn't done anything for the black community. Well, at least he ain't got the KKK out here, just blatantly saying they don't like us, running us over, shoot, so what I feel like is it's gonna get worse. If you sit on your tail at the house, it's gonna get worse. So either you want it to be kind of, even or bad. I don't think voting is gonna make it, good.
Can I counter that, Tish?
Yes.
Can I counter that? Especially the point about with the KKK and Trump. I think the reason that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris came out and agreed with Tim Scott saying America is not racist is damage control.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Now, this is my thing. I love that Trump was exposing America's racism to the rest of the world.
Me too.
Yes.
Right. I appreciate that.
I really wanted
to happen, James.
I really wanted 4 more years of it, because I had a brand new set of people on both sides, brand new set of Republicans, brand new set of Democrats. I can't vote for Joe Biden because of the 1994 crime bill and the 1986 crack the coke laws.
But guess what? He can't pass the law by himself.
No, I know that.
Yeah, he can't. That would be
that would be like my husband is a felon. He went to prison 30 years ago. So if I sit up here and say, oh, well, he's this horrible person because of what he did in 1986, that's crazy to me. You can't, people change.
But that's the thing.
And I can't sit here and like I had this conversation with one of my husband's friends. I said, I married the 2000 John. I didn't marry the 1986 John. You get what I'm saying? And so I'm voting for the 2020 Joe Biden. I'm not voting for the 1986 Joe Biden. People make mistakes, but my thing is, if I had to look at Donald Trump one more time, I was gonna blow my head off. I'm sorry, or I was gonna blow his off. I just cannot do it.
For me, I feel
it seemed like.
Oh, go ahead, Charlotte.
No, you go first because I want to get on her too. Okay. You go ahead. You was starting.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of like a checkers way of thinking instead of chess, because we had the world behind on. We literally had the world protesting with black people when George Floyd died, and they wasn't just protesting with us; they was protesting against Trump and everybody like Trump. So we was actually gaining momentum with him in office because they couldn't lie. They couldn't say America's not racist with him in office. You know what I mean? Like all the cards was on the table. Now it might have been a little more uncomfortable because we had some people crawling from under their rocks. But at the same time, for me, it was kind of refreshing because my Facebook friends list, because I went to a high school with a lot of white people once I left Oakland and moved to Sac. So I started seeing a lot of people true colors. So it was like he was exposing a lot of people, you know what I mean? And Biden, I felt like Biden did a lot of his laws are still on the books. It's still people going to jail because of his laws. Like
but it wasn't just his law. It takes
whole. He was the main cheerleader. He was the main cheerleader.
The Black Caucus actually approved it.
No, but here's my point about.
I'm independent.
Here's my thing about that. Ella, you grew up in Pineview Heights just like I did, and I'm sure you knew in Oakland how horrible the conditions were in black communities when we had the crack epidemic. It was horrible. It was horrible. And yes, them guys was monsters. They was freaking monsters. And that's just all to it. It's the truth. So yes, my mom, all the old folks, they were all for that. Like, let's get rid of these. But I feel like over time they took advantage of the situation and said, okay, we're gonna expand on it. Now you got the 3 strikes law. Now you know, I feel like they were trying to do it for a good cause, but it just got out of hand. I feel like it, you know, but that's just my opinion. Because me growing up in a crack-ridden neighborhood, I was glad to see some of them niggas out. Oh, I'm so sorry. I got to put my professional face.
Too late.
Yeah, I was one of the kids who looked up to it because I had 2 examples. I had an example of the guy who was working every day 9 to 5, and the guy who was on the corner. And for me personally, I saw one of them who was independent, who was his own boss. You know what I mean? And I saw the other guy coming to him to borrow money. And it didn't make sense to me that you go to work every day, but yet you coming to him to borrow money. Like, why? You don't make enough money on your job? Like, what you do? And it was horrible in a way, but for us, we signed up for it. Like, it's like a soldier who signed up to go to war, then he go to war, people start dying, and then you say, oh, it's horrible. Like, everybody who got in the game kind of knew, like, dead or in jail is how you get out of this. And if you will, like, some of us was trying to change the trajectory of our paths. Like, for me, I was in the projects with my mom, my grandmother, and my grandmother's stepfather. So it was 4 generations of us. And I said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure my kids grew up in the house. Thank God that I was able to do that. You know what I mean? But I understand your point, because there was a lot of people who was terrified. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't understand that it was business is war and war is business. And the dope game just happened to be a business that was very, very violent. You know what I mean? And it was basically kids killing kids because there wasn't no conflict resolution, you know. But one thing that happened was when all of the grandparents like got together with the Democrats and they all like smashed on the kids, it changed everybody's mentality to where now they're like, oh, the police smashing on y'all now? Okay, y'all on y'all own. Y'all threw us away back in the day. Now let us see how y'all handle these police. They've been doing this to us like this for generations. I mean, for decades. And you guys sick them on us. Like, a lot of people in the streets feel like the church crowd and the CBC, like they sick the police and mass incarceration and everything on us. Instead of bringing like opportunities, no jobs, no financial opportunities, no training. All we got was U-Haul trucks full of task force. You know what I mean? We got different housing police, task force, DEA. We got all type of different police forces. And it kind of hardened us. Like me, I'm a little bit smarter. Like I was in the gifted and talented classes. So I always had an escape plan. I know a lot of people who didn't, and they just stuck there. And they literally can't stand I call it square crowd. I don't know what else to say it. Like the 9-to-5ers, they literally can't stand it.
No circle.
You know, they feel like that they threw them away. You know, and it's a. I don't know how we rectify that. how do we get those people that got the police sicked on them to now turn around and say, hey, now the police are getting on everybody?
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I think with the back in the 80s, I feel like, the people who fell for it, they just fell for the okie doke. They didn't tell them the real truth. You might see this man out here and he's got freedom and he can't, he can do what he want to do, but you don't see the realness of it. I think our kids didn't see the realness of it, what really entails it. And then the thing about it that gets me is we weren't even the ones that actually were over the dope. We don't have planes. We don't have boats. We don't have none of that stuff. So
let me let Charlotte give her.
Yeah, I thought about that when I was young. I'm like, how did this stuff get over here? No, I'm not getting it.
Oh yeah, true.
I'm not falling for the okie doke. So that's just on, it is what it is. But I felt like, if people had just been selling their dope and doing what they do, it wouldn't have been an issue. But it became an issue when all the killing started.
Yeah.
When people got greedy and they want to kill each other, that's the part that.
Guys, I want Charlotte to give her opinion. Charlotte, you wanted to say something about Biden and that whole thing. I want you to get the opportunity to go ahead and voice your opinion on that.
Oh, I'm just still on the about the voting thing. I was listening to Letitia and she was saying that things are going to get worse if we don't vote. I mean, we're at our worst now. We voting. I mean, we got Black leaders in place. In a lot of our states, right here in Alabama, Montgomery, we have a Black police chief, a mayor. In Georgia, we got Black people and leaders. But at the end of the day, we got 4 families that run the world. Okay, and all of them are not for us. So you're going to vote for Biden, but Biden is part of the 4 families. You know what I'm saying? The Rockefeller families and things like that runs the world. So at the end of the day, I just look at the voting thing is, it's causing us more problems than it's helping us. And when we look at it, I just don't see what we're voting for. I hear what you say when you say, oh, it's going to get worse if we don't vote. And it's people like you that sit at home.
It's not just about the presidential. It's about state and local vote. You got to vote for the people that's in your town. It's not just about Biden. So when I talk about voting, I don't mean it to that extent, but I mean it's your state and local government officials. That's important too. People don't care about that. They care about the president. They think that is the all in to voting, and it's not. But like I said, we are not at our worst. And I it's funny to me when people my age, I'm 46, so it's funny to me when people my age say, "Oh, we're at our worst." No, you don't know nothing. You need to talk to your ancestors. And when my mom then was coming up, and some of the older people, they had it bad. So some of the voting and things that we have been doing over these years has gotten us, but it's only inching us a little bit.
Well, I think the voting really just civilized them, because we wasn't the ones. The Civil Rights Act ain't for us, like Chris Rock said. We wasn't the ones acting uncivil. It was them. So that's why it's a lot of laws in there on behavior, what you can't do. You can't discriminate. You can't.
Right. It wasn't. Yeah, it was to help us, but it was actually, like you said, to tell them how to act.
Yeah. So we still haven't gotten nothing that's like for us.
Now let me ask Charlotte. Charlotte, why do you think we're at our worst?
I mean, where are we going to go from here? Like, we're going to see more police killings. We're at our worst. Like, then the coronavirus
were we not
came,
at the same place when Trump was in there?
When Trump was in there,
it was the same before Trump, before Obama, before.
It's always been the same.
It's always been like this.
Yeah,
it's just social media is exposing the things that have been going on. But like I said, we have inched, a little bit, because there was a time when you go in a restaurant and you can't drink out of this water fountain because you color. We can drink out of water fountain now. Oh, you can't come to this school because you Black. We can go to any school we want to now. So we've come a long way, but we just not there yet. We're not seeing it.
We made every strive except financially.
Yeah.
Like we still got the same amount of wealth as we had.
And that's part of the plan.
Which is none. And I can't blame, I feel like if we don't that somebody needs to, reach these communities and tell people, because we don't know, because, we got women. I'm going to pick on, women for a second. I'm going to pick on you for a second, Ellen. You go out there, you buy these bundles and all this makeup, and you want to get your ass done, and you want to get your tits done, and you want
girl, give me a deal, and I'm ready.
We are, my kids. We got to get the latest Jordans. We got to get this, and we got that, and you living in the projects. How that work? You ain't trying to get no land. You ain't trying to get your hands on nothing that has some tangible value to it. So we need to, like I said, I don't know what it's gonna take, because like James said, it's gonna take a rapper or a famous person, but those are the main people that's putting this stuff out. Hey, if you ain't got these shoes or these pants, I got the latest. I'm dripping. I'm whatever trill or whatever y'all call it. My swag. They're the ones that putting this stuff in these children's mind. And I do, on some part, blame some of the music that our children listen to, but that's a whole nother story. But like I said, we have the wrong people in place that's putting the wrong information out there. I agree. We are, we are powerful. We spend more money than anybody, but we just don't know it. Now, how we're going to get that point across, I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. I'm
stop spending.
But I'm saying, who's gonna tell us that? Who gonna tell my nurse friend that they ain't finna get the next Louis Vuitton bag? You must be crazy.
They gonna get left behind. They gonna get left behind.
Crazy. I'm telling you. They about their life. They about their life. They want to have the same things that they see the wealthy people have. Yes, you can go out and buy anything you want to buy, but you cannot afford it. And people don't understand the difference.
Like Charlotte say, Tish, we ain't gonna be able to save everybody. You know what I mean?
Some people I don't feel like it's gonna be enough of us to even come together. I don't feel like, I just don't. And I talk to people all the time, and I feel like, people push me away and they don't want to hear what I got to say no more, because it's just me. And
I feel like you don't have no hope
against, like my family. My family is huge. They all think the same way. I'm the only one that thinks different. So I'm the crazy person, and we don't want to hear, they don't want to hear nothing. I'm the only one in the family that's prospering. And I'm not saying it in a bad way, but I feel like I'm the only one that's growing. The rest of them, they've been in the same position my whole life. Like you're not growing.
Now, what did you want to say, Charlotte?
I was going to tell Letitia that I think that, just listen to you talking. I hope I'm not being disrespectful. I think that your solution to what our problem is going to be, you're going to look for it to come from the government and the politics.
No, ma'am.
And you're going to be disappointed because you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it.
No, I've always said, what I feel like black people, the first thing we want to do is look at white people and say, y'all need to do this, y'all need to do this, and it'll be better. No, we got to start. We got to make it better for us, where we ain't got to depend on how nobody else act or what nobody else do. We shouldn't have to depend on nobody to treat us a certain way, or depend everything that we do. If our come up always depends on how somebody else act. And I've always said that it should. We got to stop depending on that. But that's the issue. We always depending on white folks to change.
No, I like what
Stop waiting on other folks to change. Do what you got to do. Let them be who they're gonna be. And
but I hear you say that you just don't feel like we're going to actually come together. And I just want to let you know that it's a nation that's rising up, that God is putting together. Okay, and then those people are going to be the people that's going to get you the results that you're looking for. Because we've already had politicians in place and we're not getting nowhere with them. It's going to become to where the community is going to be against the politicians. Okay, you're gonna start seeing something like that rising up. The community is tired of politicians. We don't care about what they're talking about. They're going to do. I'm telling you from a community standpoint. I see what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Okay, but I want you to understand what's coming. Okay. What's coming is,
let me tell you,
the community is going to start rising up against the politicians.
Well, they should,
because we're on two different teams.
They
the
should.
community is on that.
But my thing is, as long as the system is here,
you're gonna have a nation of people that's not gonna go out.
Okay, hold on, guys.
Yeah, I'm just saying, as long as the system is in place, then I'm gonna participate in it. It's not like I'm thinking, oh, this is the end out. This is, the government is gonna do something for me. I don't think like that. But my thing is, I'm here, they're here, they're there. They're the people that's making the laws, that's controlling my life. Like, I don't want that, but that's just what it is. So I'm going to participate in it. You're not going to be out there doing stuff to me and against me, and I don't have a clue. Like, I'm about to put my 2 cents in too. But at the same time, I'm trying to do something else on the side. Sometimes you got to play the fool to beat the fool.
Sometimes you have to stay out the way and let them play their own game.
No, I ain't going to stay out the way. I'm going to put my 2 cents in every time. Like, y'all gonna hear my voice.
Charlotte and Tish, Tish mainly, how do you feel about like a protest vote? I heard that after George Bush, he said no new taxes, and then he signed the taxes into law, and a lot of Republicans did what they called a protest vote and didn't vote at all to prove that they were displeased with that. That's how strongly they felt about him raising taxes, and that's how Clinton came in. You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel about the protest vote? Because I feel like Black people, we need to like at least have 1 or 2 of those just to show them like y'all need to do something for us, because we like this last election, I did a lot of debating with people online because I've been watching politics since 95 or 6 when I tried to go back to school, and then I found out that the 94 crime bill wouldn't let me get financial aid or nothing. So I started watching politics then, but I was saying all that to say this. How do you feel about like Black people saying, okay, this is what we want, like reparations? That's something that's like specifically for Black Americans. We want reparations. If you don't do reparations, we're going to withhold our vote this time and do a protest vote. Like, would you do that and then vote locally? You know what I mean? Like, I believe in voting for policies and not people, unless the people are pushing the policy I like. You know what I mean? That's my political strategy. No permanent party, just permanent policies. I heard some woman say that before, and that's my motto now. But how do you
that's good?
Well, the way I feel about that is, I feel like if we withheld our votes, it still wouldn't make a difference. I just feel like some people can do some things and some people can't.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what I said, it's the system.
Yeah. Well, that's like the Asians.
It's the system.
The Asians didn't vote. The Asians had a fraction of a vote in this presidential election, and we voted 98%. But yet they got a hate crime bill, and ours is whittling away in the house somewhere. And they don't vote.
But if we would have held our vote, it still wouldn't have mattered. It's certain, like I said, the Asians, they have money.
That's true.
It's
and
like
that's the difference.
That's what I was leading to.
Of course, they're gonna.
Black people got money.
Have our country. They building our infrastructure, our cars, everything. They're contributing something. They don't feel like we're contributing anything.
We got money. We just not spending it in the right places.
Yeah.
We have money too. We're spending it all with them. So
you know what I'm saying? We got money where your mouth is and show people that you got money. And stop blowing it on crazy stuff. So that's what I'm saying. We have money, but we don't have any power. When you put your money to use like it should, then you can have power.
Yeah,
but until
we don't have
then,
no organization.
We're not valued. We're not valued. So
what did you say, James? Say that again.
We don't have no organization. You know what I mean? And Martin Luther King said something about practicing group economics. And none of his so-called friends picked up that baton. You know what I mean? He was preaching in the last days of group economics, coming to Washington to get our check. He was schooling us on how about the Homestead Act, the Head of Household Act, and how the government propped up European peasants and basically gave them millions of acres of land, built schools, and taught them how to farm and everything. And I don't see none of his so-called brethren picking up that baton. So now we have to get a whole new group of people that's coming with the group economics, like how Charlotte is saying, and then we can have that voting like Tish is saying, because we have some power behind the votes. Because we don't lobby them. Lobbyists is the power. We don't have the money to lobby them. Well, we have the money, but it's not organized and grouped together to do, to make a difference. So it's man, the more we talk, the further away it seems we are, but at least we're having a conversation. So
at least we're having a conversation. That's what I love. I want to get back to the voting.
Our issues run deep. Our issues run deep. And that's the reason why we can't. Our issues, the Black community, our issues are so deep, and we think that it's just so easy. We can just get up and, hey, let's just get together. No, we got some deep issues that need to be, resolved in the Black community.
That's what you said, Charlotte, at the beginning.
Letitia, I think that you think that that's what I think. And that's not what I think.
No, I'm not talking to you.
I have hope, and I have a vision, and I feel like I have God, and I think that that's the final say. I feel like we're living in a spiritual war. So right now it's time for us to start making those decisions about what side we're on. And then, and that's just where we at right now, and if that's just where I'm at right now.
Yeah, because I'm not in a spiritual war. I've never been in a war.
How do you fight spiritual wars?
How I'm fighting my spiritual wars, I continue to just call on God and talk to him and have a personal relationship with him. I'm not going to get caught up in no religious organizations. I'm not going to get caught up with any politics. I feel like that's all Satan's world. All of that is against us. Those religious, a lot, I'm not saying every religious organization, but a lot of them and a lot of the politicians and the system is the politicians. It's against us. So I think that people should start trying to have their own personal relationship with God and ask him to use you in some kind of way out, in what we're facing right now. And he'll use you. Just over the year that we've been dealing with the coronavirus, I became a business owner. I'm out in the community, talking with the community. I'm putting things in place, giving people different ideas of how we can go about trying to get out of the situation that we're in. So each person individually going to have to find a way to see what they can do in order to come up with some different ideas, because what we've been doing is not working. So, we're going to have to rely on that personal relationship that we have. I
agree with that.
You got to get a personal relationship. And then once you get there, God's going to use you. Then you go on that. And that's kind of what I'm running on.
Charlotte, unarmed black men are still dying here. So spiritually, we have to address that, right?
Right.
Well, it's also a story in the Bible. Well, God had fought this war for and one of the angels killed 185,000 people. So we have to look at it a different way. Like what the situation that we're in right now, there's nothing. Some things we're not going to be able to fix. We could, some things we're going to be able to fix, and something God is going to have to fix for us. And, I think that he's trying to show us that he's here for us right now. And that's why you're going to have different leaders coming up, new faces. New faces are like me. I'm a new face. I'm just a regular person. I'm not part of an organization. I'm not, I'm just a regular person. Like I'm just a parent, but God is using me though.
Yes,
so now I'm a leader. So now I'm a leader in my community, and my community opened up more to me than they will their own politicians. So, and I give God the credit for that. So, that's how I look at it. Like there's new leaders that's about to come up that the community is going to gravitate to. And that's how we'll be able to start seeing some change.
But I think God gives different people different gifts. That may be your gift. He may give me the gift of being a hellraiser, which is also can be effective in certain places. Or Tish, she seems to be more of a hellraiser than me. But but what I'm saying is I think that we all have a different way, because praying isn't doing it. Going to church and giving our money to the church isn't doing it, because they don't even put it back in the community. So I can't just accept that we just gotta pray. I believe that there is more to it. It's more to it. I do.
I think that Black people have an issue with separating religion from spirituality.
Yeah.
A lot of Black people, I hear them talk and they're like, oh, I'm not religious. Yes, you are. Because everything you saying is pure and T religion. Everything.
Are you talking to me?
If I gotta, if
No,
for
she's
me,
talking about the people that she's talking to.
yeah.
Not you
So
per
for
se.
me, okay, so I'm on a different level than most people. I studied the Bible for like 3 years. Not only did I study the Bible, but I also studied the history of the era. You can't just look at it and not know what was going on during that time in the world. So you can kind of correlate how things go. So for me, back 2,000 years ago, when they wrote the Bible by all men, then of course they're going to refer to God as a He. I have a problem with that. A He is a man. That is human. If you can't, everything that they describe about God and about heaven, all of it is earthly stuff. It's earthly. So if you can't describe it on that a level that it should be described on, that I don't want to hear it. Like, so I refuse. I'm a woman. My God is in me. It's a woman. So I'm not going to say He. So that's what I say. I think we get, and I feel like because they can't separate the two, that they're still in kind of running in place. You're running on a treadmill because you think, oh, I'm not going to the church. No, I'm not depending on them no more. But you still under that religious spell. And I feel like that's the one of the big problems with the Black community. They don't know how to separate the two. They don't, they always trying to say, they always think somebody coming to save them, somebody doing something. And no, you got to do it. It's in you. It's in you, and it's on you. You gotta do it. So, and I think we're still being held back by
I think that's some of
religion.
what you're saying, right, Charlotte? Because you're not a politician and you're out there in the community and you're not a preacher. You're not none of that. You're just somebody that cares about your people and you want to see a change. And I think that even though it may be slow right now, I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing because at some point people will get it. But, you have to find out what, more research I think is needed because what they did in 1960s with Rosa
Ain't
Parks,
working for 2021.
it doesn't work now.
And
And
that's
there's
the
a
problem.
reason for it because you got too many people that care more about their pocket. And they're just not going to, they're like, listen, I hear you, Black people, but I got to stay over here. I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm not getting involved in that mess. I got a lot of stuff invested. I'm not going to stop spending. I'm not going to do that. That's not going to work. You can always have people because they have too much to lose. They're not going to get involved with it. I want to encourage you because your bit helps little by little. It does. But, I think that what we're all saying is going to be the thing that's going to get us to the next level. But I want to talk more about these voting laws because in Florida, DeSantis just May 6th signed into law these controversial bills. Now, I don't know if you guys remember during the election, you remember when Bloomberg wanted to spend all that money and get all these felons, get them up to par, pay all their fines and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's like that's when they started spinning their wheels. They're like, no, we got to do something. And see, everybody wants us to just be quiet with what's happening in our country. But these politicians, these Republicans, they're not playing. We're over here praying and they're over here praying on us. They're creating these laws that are going to suppress us forever. But we're so busy worrying about what they think and they're sneaking this stuff in right up under our nose.
And they're not thinking about us. They're not thinking about us, Ella. They're not thinking about us. We always thinking, yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking it's good cop, bad cop, man. It's like we got a controlled opposition out here because we got the Republicans and they just no holds barred. They don't care. They gonna do whatever it takes to get whatever they need passed.
Right.
And they'll do it. They'll be a hypocrite and don't care at all. Yeah. And then you got the Democrats who act like they're getting restrained by some invisible, unwritten rules.
Fear.
And it's like these guys just went and just did whatever they wanted to do all these years. And now you're going to turn around and act like you can't do the same thing. Like,
James, that was everything. That was everything. I get so tired of it. I'm like, if they don't care what they do, do you? Do what you gotta do. So what they say, I don't care. Just do what you gotta do. But they not gonna do it. They always with this. You
That's
know,
why I
you
think
got
black
y'all
people should be
crowd.
independent. We should be independent and then make them earn the vote if they even get the vote. Like, president ain't gonna get my vote unless they sign something for reparations and push for it hard. You know, this last presidential election was the first time I contributed to somebody, and it was to Marianne Wilson, because she was the first one to openly embrace reparations, even though I didn't agree with the number she had. But I just wanted to see her get on the stage and then see if she had said on the stage, which she did, and brought the conversation around. You know what I mean? So I'm really a one issue voter when it comes to the top of the ticket, some specifically for Black Americans, because I just want to say this one point.
Mm-hmm.
Our taxes pay for everybody else reparations. Our taxes don't pay for the
Yes.
Japanese, for the Jews, for the Native
Yeah.
Americans. Our taxes are paying for the Native Americans checks every month right now.
Yeah.
And then
Right now.
nobody wants to pay for our reparations. They ask, why should the immigrants pay? Why should these people pay? Because it's part of America. If you want the good, you got to take the bad. Why should we be paying taxes for the Japanese or the Native Americans when we ain't even got paid for our thing? You know what I mean? So I think we should start looking at reparations as a taxation without representation, because our taxes paying for everybody else's. It's time for everybody else's taxes to pay for ours.
Very good point. Defund the police, guys. Let's hit on that a little bit. I know you agree with it, James. Why?
Definitely. I think they got. I seen a stat of their budgets, and our city police have budgets bigger than some countries' defenses. You know, defense funds. You know, and a lot of that money can be going to different programs, like in Newark. How Newark had they defunded, they reallocated the funds basically. You know, they reallocated funds from the police to social workers and stuff like that, and their violent crime went down. And they used to be known as the car stealing state of the world, and that's even gone down. So, you know, I feel like, I don't want to say feel like, I think I have the same opinion of Malcolm X. The more police we have in our community, the more crime. And it seemed like it should be the opposite. It seemed like if the more police they put in our community, if they was really stopping crime, we would have less crime. But it's not. And until I understood how they tally arrest records, is when I realized why we have more crime. Because every time they grab us and put us in handcuffs and stop and frisk us, that goes as a strike on our arrest record. So every time a Black man is handcuffed, he has another arrest on his record. So for me, I had a friend.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you know that? Did you know that, Charlotte?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
And that's why we have arrest records. You know what I mean? So it's so I just feel like they have too much money, too much power, and not enough accountability. So it's time to start switching them dynamics around a little bit. Less money, less power, and more accountability.
Charlotte, what do you think about defunding the police?
I think James said it perfect. I agree with him.
What about you, Tish?
I agree. I just think they need to change the wording.
Yeah.
Because people think defunding means take everything away from them. That's not what it means. So I feel like they need to change the rhetoric that they have, so that, you know, we can get more people on board. Because even you got Black folks like, no, we need the police. You know, but you don't understand. Like you said, reallocate. Put that money somewhere else, some of it somewhere else. It's not, we're not taking anything from them. You know, so I agree with it. I just don't agree with the wording. They need to change it.
All right, now Tish, let's talk about now in Florida. I want to say that, you know, the Florida Legislative Black Caucus, they introduced over 20 police reform bills, guys. We need police reform. That's a given. They introduced over 20, and they only got I think 3 or 4 that have passed. That's a problem. Let me tell you what they are. For those of you that are watching, you live in the state of Florida. No-knock search warrant bill, that passed. Body camera bill, and the military equipment bill. Because the no-knock, obviously with Breonna Taylor, we see why that's necessary. No-knock search warrants for misdemeanor offenses. Body cameras, that's a bill that's requiring every law enforcement wear their cameras. I thought they were already doing
I
that,
thought
but
that was
whatever.
already a bill, but
I did too.
it must have been just state, because I think the states have
States.
a lot of power now.
Yeah.
They gave the states a lot of power.
And then the military equipment, that's where the bill, it's restricting law enforcement from being able to acquire all these surplus military equipment, which I think is good. And then, of course, now we have Tim Scott, federally, they're bringing in this George Floyd Policing Act. What do you guys think about that? Start with you, James. What do you think about it?
I'll probably have an unpopular opinion. I feel like it's smoke and mirrors. If it's not going to stop the murder of George Floyd, why use his name? You know what I mean? Like nothing in the bill would have stopped what's his name, Chauvin, from putting his knee on his neck and holding it there for that long. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm not against the bill, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like it's more symbolism over substance. If they want to do
I like that. I like that. Symbolism over substance. I like that. Yeah. What do you think, Tish, about the Policing Act?
Well, I feel like if the act is not going to, just aside from that, I feel like the issue with the policing, some of the issue is that you have these officers coming into the Black communities. They don't know nobody. They don't know any of these people in this community. You have no business protecting and serving in a community and you don't know the people. I feel like they need to allocate money into getting some of these young guys in the Black communities and giving them jobs in the police force and let them, they can police over their community because they know those people. So if you get in a high speed chase and they see, oh, that's Ella, I know her, hey, Ella, pull over, what's going on? Instead of, approaching you
shoot me down.
I feel like, if you don't know those people, you have no business in their community. And that's just, if it doesn't include that, then I'm just not with it.
Well, I want to bring this out too, guys, because for those of you that think this is just Florida and Georgia, let me just share with you what some of these other states are doing. Kentucky, their Senate just approved a bill that you can get in trouble if you taunt or insult the police. Okay? You know how a lot of people talk back to the police and everything? They just passed something. You can get in trouble for that now.
Yeah, they can go ahead on and lock me up. If I was in Kentucky, go ahead on and lock me up now.
Just go lock. But see, the thing is, it's not going to work if you don't do it for the white people too. I'm just saying, because they do it.
When have they ever enforced laws on us equally? You know what I mean? Like
therein lies the problem.
Every law they create, they enforce it biasly. You know what I mean? So
let me give you guys another state, Indiana. They will cut state benefits for anyone convicted of unlawful assembly. What is that? Wow. Unlawfully assembling, and your benefits, after you're convicted, your state benefits are cut. And I think that's crazy because the benefits are for the children. The benefits are for, you're not the only one that's in that situation. So, it just, another one, Iowa. They passed a bill that made it a felony just to be present during a riot. Just being present. See, this is the reason I like to do shows like this and do my research and find stuff and bring it to you guys, because some of you had no idea that this stuff is going on. They want you to think, while you're over here protesting for Andrew Brown, that's great, but they're doing all of this stuff under the radar. And the next thing you know, you see it on the news, oh, DeSantis just signed a new bill.
And that's the reason why I'm for voting. That's why I'm for it. I'm for it. I need to know what you're doing. You passing laws behind our backs. We should have a say in that. So I just don't. I feel like
the only say is to vote them in or vote them out. Yes.
If for nothing else, just for that reason, you need to know what's going on.
It's not so much of the not voting, but voting for what exactly. You know what I mean? Like, I'll vote against any of those laws right there because those policies I don't agree with. You know what I mean? And I will vote for people who is fighting against those. But most people are saying none of the policies that they're putting forth are going to help Black Americans. You know what I mean? Every time they say something like people of color, minority, all this other stuff.
Why don't we do what they told us to do? Why don't we go back to Africa?
Let's go. We'll be over here for we ain't getting none.
Charlotte, you ready?
Hey,
I just said that at the beginning of the show.
I'm like, why not?
I'm ready
Why
to go.
Let's go. Everybody,
I'm ready to go. Like,
and I promise you,
I looked at
we
some
either gonna
land
stay
in
over here and
Ghana.
die, or we're gonna go over there and live off the land.
I
It's
looked
one or
at
the
some
other.
land in Ghana. It was like 80,000 for some beachfront property over there. I looked at. I mean, that did cross my mind, but we're gonna have to deal with a whole nother type of colorism type thing. You know what I mean? So we can't escape this. We can't run from it. We just gonna have to face it head on. And our people really ain't runners, like that. We never left this country yet because we don't have a spirit of fear and running like that. We have a spirit. We only gonna run so far, I should say. You know what I mean? We might go from Louisiana to California, but we ain't finna go no further. Or, you know what I mean? We might go from South Carolina to New York. Or from Mississippi.
So you saying nobody's gonna pack up the plane and ride and go to Africa and say, okay, we're gonna live here now?
Yeah,
we can't even pack up the plane and all go to one state in the U.S. Like I would
because
like
they're comfortable over here.
Yeah, I would like us to just pack up and just move to pick one state in the United States and
all black people go.
What state would that be though? Because all of the states is pretty much the same BS. Because I thought when I moved to California, it was gonna be different.
Oh no!
Until I took care of a patient and she called me the N word. I'm like, really? I'm all the way in California, got to deal with this foolishness. I thought I left this junk in Alabama.
Nah, it's just that they're not as brave out here. You know what I mean? Like as far as the dudes, like you know what I'm saying. Dudes ain't gonna come up to us and say, "What you doing over here, boy?" You know what I mean? They ain't gonna come up and say nothing like that to us.
Well, California deep with the Bloods and the Crips.
Yeah, we pretty much smashed on all that.
They're still doing that?
Huh?
What?
They're still doing that? The Bloods and the Crips, that's still?
Oh, yes.
Oh, heavy.
Yeah, It's heavy in California. I used to work in Watts. Because I always try to work. Yes, I worked at the Watts and worked in Watts in the Grape Street Crip. And somebody always had something going on. And I got off at 8:00 at night. And I'm talking about, and I tell these little boys in Alabama, y'all really think y'all in the game, baby. No, you go to California, the grandmama is a Crip, the great grandmama is a Crip, the great
serious?
The uncle is a Crip. It's a family.
It's generational.
Yeah, it's generational.
That's what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to stop something when you got somebody's grandparents and parents who's in it. You know what I mean? Like it's been around since the 60s.
Yeah.
It's been around about 50-some years now. So it's generations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's deep. Like she said, grandmas, mamas,
grandma, everybody.
I might roll up on a grandma with a assault rifle.
I mean, you
like, is she gonna come at me and be like, "What you gonna do?"
They used to come to the clinic and they be at the wonder like that. What you gonna do? Or they be in there arguing. I'm like, oh my god.
God, that is.
And it was funny to me though, seriously, but it was sad. I'm like, I cannot believe this. Like this lady is 80 years old. You know why you? But I didn't understand. And then when I used to work in the psych wards, I would have some patients that would come in and all they would talk about was, the gangs, and the other nurses didn't like them. But I was like, hey, listen, this guy is talking about what he knows. This is all he knows. So he's not going to come in here and talk about the stuff that you know. This is this man's whole life. And people don't understand that. Like you said, it's generational. It's all around them. And that is all.
You know what I'm thinking though, Charlotte? I mean, when hearing Tish and James talk about that, and you were talking earlier about getting more people to agree with this, I think the best target, find the people in the community that everybody listens to. Get them on board, and now use them to help you get everybody else on board.
You got to get to them first.
Yeah, you got to get to them because they're running the community.
You don't want to go on Grape Street,
or the pastor.
You don't want to go. You don't want to go on Grape Street. You don't want to.
I would go to Grape Street.
I didn't get much success with the no spending because, like you said, people are comfortable. Our people are not going to stop spending. They're worrying about how they look. They're worrying about trying to keep up with the Joneses. They're worrying about their outside image when they're not looking at the big picture. And so I didn't get much success with the new justice, no shopping, but people are going to get on board. Right now it's slow, but then the Unity Day, I reached all the popular people that I needed to reach, and I actually was pretty successful with that. But that's what I said. You got to be tapped into more than one solution. You got to have more than one solution. So you can't just come out with one thing and then boom, that don't work out, and then you feel like you just need to stop. So you got to have you got to have more than one solution. So just in case that one is slow, then the other one kind of pick up for you. So you just got to keep believing, and what I'm saying, what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish, and just keep going at it. And don't let anything like come in the way of it. So just because if I had done that with the new justice equals no shopping, I know that's gonna work. I know that if we stop spending money, I promise you we're gonna get somewhere. But it's slow because people, our people just ain't there yet. They're not there.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I had an epiphany one day. I went to the beauty supply store, and I'm just gonna piggyback off what Tish already said about me. I went to the beauty supply store, and I'm looking at all these cars in the parking lot, and I was like, me, that countryside came out. I was like, which one of these cars belong to the owner? And when I saw that he's in a nicer car than me, and I'm getting ready to go in here and pay $125 for a wig, I had an epiphany that day. I need to have my own wig shop. I need to make my own wigs. Did you get that money?
Did you get your wig shop? Did you get your wig shop? No.
Yeah, I still got it.
I
ain't ready yet. Just pray for me.
You ain't right. Just do it, Ella. Just do it.
You know what I'm saying? I look at the other races in the store. Sometimes I walk around the grocery store and I look, and say if I see an Asian person in there, I actually look at their whole outfit. Like their shirt, their pants,
very simple,
their shoes, very, very, very simple. Yeah. I mean, you could tell that those pants that they have on are probably super old. And the shoes they have on them, man, they brought them shoes from over there in Korea. They haven't bought not one new pair of shoes since they've been over here. And they got all the businesses, and I look at, I have I built a delivery app here in my local community, and I have a beauty supply store in there. I drive a nicer car than him, and he owns 12 stores, and he's riding around in a little Toyota, and you would never ever think that, and I'm like, wow. it's us,
Well, yeah, I was gonna say they don't have the pizzazz or the charisma or the swag that we got. You know what I mean?
That's what they got businesses though. They got all the businesses.
No, what I'm saying is
we got the swag.
When we get successful, even our successful Black people, they don't do that. They don't just dress regularly like that. You know what I mean? Even our millionaires and stuff like that. Some of them do, but most of them it shows their individualism, I guess. The individualism comes out. So if they like jewelry or if they like this or that, we're a lot more flashy than other races. And it kind of what made our culture, like our music, our clothes.
That's our culture. That is our culture.
You know what I mean? But I understand what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing. You know what I mean? Because I'm a firm believer in not spending money on these luxury brands. I'm not into consumerism like that. Yeah. I'll go to Burlington Coat Factory or Ross or some Marshalls or buy last year's style. I don't care. This shirt only costs $10 on sale. You know what I mean? I'm not into that, but I know that for a fact that a lot of those guys who do get that money like that, they just don't have the mentality. It never even crossed their mind to look or to shop differently. You know what I mean?
They invest their money though.
Was kids.
They invest.
Yeah, they invest.
Let me bring up a point, and this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I just thought it was so interesting. You know how even where I work, different places, we have the Black women. We're labeled the angry Black woman because I don't. It's something about us, and I don't know if it's the melanin, our energy. But listen, I used to do laser hair removal, and I found out when I started doing it that when you use the machine, is based off of energy. Well, when a dark-skinned person comes in, the energy that we use to get their hair removed is very low. Very low. We can't, the energy is low. They don't need it. But when a fair-skinned person a white person comes in, we have to turn it all the way up. just to get any type of results. And I know that sounds crazy, but to me, it just kind of made me think, like, there's something in us. We don't really need all that energy because we are already energetic people, and we're just that's just how we are. Like you said, that's our culture. It's not that. I feel like that's the reason why we're not going to be able to do anything about it, because I feel like even if you go to Africa, they do it big out there. My African friends, they put all these big hats on, and they party. They do it big in Africa, and I think that's just something in our DNAs. But I just found it very interesting when I was doing laser hair removal, that the lighter the skin, the higher I had to turn that machine up just to get any type of result.
That's
And I
pretty
know
good.
that's completely off topic, but it just really made me think about something.
Well, guys, we've talked about a lot of stuff. Do you guys know that we've actually been on here for like almost 3 hours?
Wow.
We're finally gonna wrap it. It didn't feel like it did it, but we needed to have this conversation. And I personally picked you guys because of where you come and what you have to bring to the table. And I think that you guys offered so much good conversation. We will definitely have to do this again with this group, because I think we all are saying the same thing. All of us want to see our community do better. We all have that. We're all tired of what we've had. We're all tired of the same rhetoric. That's one thing I think that we all agree on. Now we just have to come together with what do we think is going to work, and let's try all of them, whatever it takes. So I like your Unity Day, Charlotte. Talk to me a little bit more afterwards, because I want to be a part of that. Whatever you need me to do.
I want you to come. But
I want to donate to you too. I'm way out here in California, but I can still cash app something out there for you.
See, look at that, working already.
Outdo me, y'all ain't gonna outdo me. I'm done donating too.
Well, you go ahead with your best.
But Miss Ellen,
Tish, you might as well come and go with me, because I want to go to the event.
I was going to ask you to come out. We need a speaker. For right now, we don't have a person that'll come out and speak and give a speech for us. I was going to ask. It's May the 28th.
Oh, I ain't gonna be
it's the Friday of Memorial Day weekend.
Okay.
Well, I have a prior engagement. My nephew's getting married in Indiana, so he's getting married.
Okay.
But I will.
But she'll still donate.
I'll donate.
Thank you.
But I'll definitely donate, and I'll come and be there. We'll definitely coordinate. I want to come and be there, because you know what? I think that we have to all tap into each other's events and stuff. Show up. Don't just talk about it, be about it. So I want to definitely be there, because I go home a lot anyway. So why not? I'll definitely love to come to Montgomery. I haven't been to Montgomery in years. I wouldn't even know how it looks now. I haven't been there in so long.
Oh, you'll be devastated when
you go down the boulevard
in Virginia.
Don't go down.
I just moved back from 20 years ago, and it looks crazy.
Yeah. When you say crazy, what do you mean? It's trashy?
Yeah, it's trash. Well, they've closed down a lot of businesses. A lot of our people just look like, they're going through a lot. It's like I said, they've built a whole nother side of town for the more prominent people. And it kind of left a side of town just totally like closed down. Like, you'll see when you get here, it's almost segregated here. They built up the East Chase area, and they have a whole lot of nice stores over there, but that's the only area that has the nice stores. Everywhere else is closed down, run down. A lot of our people look bad. It's just crazy. You'll see.
Sounds like there's a lot of work to do, and it sounds like you need a team. That's what it sounds like.
I'm getting one, and I'm so grateful. Like, I've been bringing.
I'm proud of you. I am proud of you. I am proud of you. And also, Tish, she's the organizer for the Concerned Citizens Group in Monroeville. She's also trying to do things up there in Monroeville, but that's a whole different show, because I already know the hell.
I already know.
I already know the hell you're going through. Hello, I did it too. I'm like, y'all ain't driving me crazy. Look here. My wig hair was falling out. Okay.
Okay.
So I applaud you, dear. And I James, listen, for somebody that you think you're just a regular guy. I think you have a place in public speaking.
Me too.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really do.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, y'all trying to
See?
stroke my ego?
Oh no,
No, I'm being
hey,
real.
I ain't gonna stroke your ego. I'm gonna tell you the truth, and you definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I
We
thank
do.
you.
really
Yeah.
do.
Before I leave, one more point. It's kind of like it's like the sneaky thing that they're doing when they do the voting laws, the ID laws, is they close the DMVs in our areas. You know, so they close the DMVs and then they make the ID law. So now you can't get an ID because they close. The ACLU in 2015 reported that Alabama closed 31 of 67 DMVs when they passed the ID law.
Yeah.
So that is the red flag and what we need to focus on. Like, okay, you're gonna make us have ID, that's fine, but then you close half of the DMVs in your state just to make sure we don't get it. So that's what we're dealing with. That's what we're up against, people that have
Wow.
no morals whatsoever. You know what I mean? So
I'm glad you
looking
brought
at
up the thing about the ID because I told somebody that I was going to ask this question on the show because he said, "Well, Ella, why do black people have a problem with getting IDs in Georgia? Why can't? What is wrong with that?" I want you guys to give your opinion on that. For my friend that wanted me to ask that question on the show, what is the problem with getting IDs to be able to vote in Georgia? Why are we upset? Why are we fighting about that?
And for me, it was just what I said. It's not the ID law itself.
Mhm.
It's what they're going to do to piggyback on top of it that's not going to get too much publicity, which is they're going to close the DMVs down so you can't get ID to make sure you can't vote.
And then you can't vote.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all a calculated plan. Alabama did it in 2015, I think, and Georgia and Florida is following suit. I mean, 35 other states are following suit now.
Florida's doing it. I mean, about
Yeah.
closing the DMV.
Yeah, they're doing it. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
So, Will, you have your answer. That's why we have an issue with the IDs. It's because trickery is in play. We're a little smarter than that.
The system.
So, the
The
system.
The
That's
system.
it. Well, one thing we all agree on right there is that
Hey, it's the system and the
It's
people
the
working
system.
it. It's the
And the
system
people
and the
working
people
it.
working it. You know.
Well,
when you
does
say
anyone have anything else you guys want to add before we get out of here? I have truly enjoyed you guys.
Me
Like, I'm
too.
not even sleepy. I'm hungry,
I
but I'm
can't
not
believe that.
sleepy.
Ella, you not sleepy? Girl,
I'm not sleepy, but I am
you got
hungry.
narcolepsy. I know you sleepy.
I don't have narcolepsy. My sister
I
has
know you
narcolepsy.
don't have it, but you act like you got it.
I know it, right? But listen, I'm hungry though. I am that.
Mhm.
But does anyone have anything else they would like to add before we get out of here? Anything you want to say to the viewers, encouragement, anything like that before we go?
Ladies first.
James. Come on, James.
I just want to say, save your money and invest your money. You know, if you get a chance, look up DCG, Digital Currency Guys. You know, a brother from the Bay Area created the group, and he integrated a lot of stock market specialists that's willing to help and teach you from level A all the way to Z. They have a 7-day free challenge that's free for all. You know, you can when you look them up on Facebook, you'll see the link for that. And I just say, black people, we have to start looking for financial freedom. You know what I mean? We have to look for freedom through finances and investing and putting our money to work for us instead of working for our money so hard.
Mhm.
All right, Charlotte.
I just want to tell y'all, you know, to a lot of what James said. Now I'm stuck. I don't know what I want to say, but
Hey, James
Just
said
wanna
it. He said it for me.
yeah. I
I
just want to encourage people to, you know, if your heart is telling you that you should be out in the community, trying to put something together, then that's what you should go do. Don't sit around and wait for somebody else to fix the problem. Try to be a solution to the problem.
Amen.
And I would like to say the same thing as James said. You know, make sure you guys are holding your money until you find something you know, realistic and beneficial to do with it. I think investing is the best thing to do. I started investing last year, and you don't have to have a whole lot of money. You could do things like $10 every 2 weeks. I know that's how I have it coming out of my account. So you don't have to worry about having a whole lot of money if you're thinking about investing. But I just want to encourage people that if your heart is telling you to, you know, be part of change, and that's what you need to focus on. And And
Amen.
don't wait for somebody else to bring that change to you.
Amen. Very well said. Tish?
If you're tired of the same old stuff happening, tired of the same outcomes, change your action.
All right. Well, guys, that is all good. Listen, I want to thank all of you so much for tuning into the Ella Johnson Show. We'll be right here next week for some more great shows. Next Wednesday, we're going to interview a lady who is a survivor of domestic violence. You don't want to miss this. She's incredible. You're going to love her, and it's a great story. And then on Thursday, I'm interviewing Dr. Charlie Stallworth. He's coming back to the broadcast so that we can talk about his book. And then later on in the month, guys, I don't know if many of you who know James LaRon Knight, I know my friends here, I know Tish does, from Monroe, well, he has an incredible story. He and his wife are going to be on the show to talk that. You're gonna want to hear this, how he went from being in prison to now owning a barbershop. James, I would love for you to definitely tune in and be a part of that, because you're a strong brother also. And, who knows, maybe you can make some connections. He's in Atlanta. Have you ever been to Atlanta, James?
No, I haven't been to Atlanta, man.
You would be good in Atlanta, right, Tish?
Well, are you still in Oakland?
No, I'm actually up north in Sacramento. Well, a little bit east.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm definitely willing to travel out there and see and go to Atlanta.
Well, that's what this show is all about, trying to make connections and bring people together, because people that are like you guys definitely need to be out there encouraging people. And none of us are famous, but we did what we did tonight was eye-opening. So I want to thank you guys for being my guests. Happy Mother's Day. Charlotte, your mom?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so happy Mother's Day, ladies. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of the ladies out there. And we'll see you guys next time right here on the Ella Johnson Show. Good night.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show.